Good morning. Sal Trucker here, and I'm just coming on to say hello to people, see how everyone's doing. I think maybe I should get rid of this background. It's not really helping anything. This is not a bad spot to stream from because I have this nice window. I got the shade down because at this time of the day the sun comes in. Actually, pretty much all day the sun comes in. This is south facing window. I'm facing west, and the sun is immediately to my left. And we're still far enough north here that the sun's still always in the south. Regardless of that, I guess it might piss off the flat earthers to find out that the position of the sun relative to where you are on your latitude might tell you a little bit of something about how orbital mechanics works. Or more to the point where we are. Hey, Spooky, how are you doing? Good to see you. You've just been waiting for me to come on and do a stream. So yeah. So I've been at home now for about a week and a half after they finally decided I was better enough to leave the hospital. And honestly, it was the first week I was in the hospital. Just for those that might not know where I'm at, the first week I was basically they were chasing what was causing. Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Spooky. Yeah, no, I've been actually, so I was in the hospital for 16 days. So I spent 14 days on oxygen, and the last two as I proved myself as a someone that could breathe just regular atmospheric air with no extra oxygen and keep my numbers in a good spot. They let me go home. And so I have an oxygen monitor. My son and I both have asthma, so we have one at home anyway. And I'm checking it every few hours. And I've been in the high 80s and the low 90s since I got home. I was getting numbers as high as 94 in the hospital, and I have had that at home a few times. In the hospital, it was on constantly. At home, it's just a little. It's a small little unit. It costs about $100, and it's battery powered. It's probably not as accurate or as good, but it gives me a rough idea of how I'm doing at breathing. And I have a machine. I believe it's called a spirometer that I practice. I don't know if I could call it practice breathing. I try to exercise my lungs by inhaling with this machine, and it shows me how much air I'm inhaling. I don't know what it's graduated in. It goes up to 4,000, and I've had it up to 2,500 is the highest I've managed. And different times of the day, I have different amounts of lung capacity, it seems like. I'm also coughing up a lot of, I guess, phlegm or mucus crud that was in my lungs from the infection. And the healthcare professionals are all, of course, very, very concerned about making sure that I'm not having that change color or get reinfected or have anything like that. So they all want to know what color it is. It's kind of gross, but it happens every so often. It could happen to me while I'm sitting here talking, or I may be fine. I can go hours as I sit quietly, and I could even pretend I'm okay. But I'm not. I know I'm not okay as soon as I start moving around. And sometimes for no reason at all, the next breath or a sip of coffee or a sip of water or something will just send me into a coughing fit. It just depends. That's where I'm at. I've got a physiotherapist coming to see me tomorrow. Do an assessment of where I'm at. My bodily strength has decreased a fair amount, although it's not complete. It's not terrible. My energy levels are really low. My, my endurance is terrible. Yesterday, I did this really small job. Um, I'm thinking, I'm gonna sell my little truck and maybe get a littler car just to make the cost of living a little better. I mean, the cost of living won't change, but I'm thinking I can maybe get by without having a truck. My wife's car can tow the little utility trailers we have, and I can use those for dump runs instead of my truck, and I'll get a smaller car for commuting. Oh yeah, spooky. It's a long journey. It's so the physiotherapist to come tomorrow. I was hoping I could maybe work this week or next. I'm gonna be having to call in and talk to my bosses today and let them know. They're already aware. They said I could take as much time as I need to recover. Um, but I want to get back to work. I mean, it's hard not having a regular income. I guess maybe I can get some medical employment insurance. But I've been off for over a month now. Um, and yeah, I gotta figure that out. I've paid into the system my whole life, so obviously I'll maybe get something out of it. I'll see. Um, it's not it's not much, but it's better than zero. Um, so we'll see how that goes. The one nice thing about where I'm at is I can work on my fellowship. And I don't know that I've talked about that on here too much, but I'll probably talk about it a bit today. Um, I know Spooky might be the only person watching now, but maybe some people will watch later. And I know people like to get an update, and I feel like I'm better enough now to speak. I know people saw me a couple times online when I had the gasp between words, um, and now I can speak in full sentences without gasping for air. That's a really good indication that I'm getting there. And yes, thank you, Spooky. You're a great supporter, Spooky. You're everywhere, supporting everyone. All right, I definitely need more coffee. I've been slow moving, slow to wake up. I've been sleeping way too long, and waking up not feeling the least bit refreshed. Um, the kids are back to school this week, and I've been my wife's been waking me up before she goes to work, and I've been with the kids for a little short time, maybe half an hour in the morning before they leave, just making sure they're okay. I think a lot of people that know me know that my son's my son's on the spectrum. What do you mean? Oh shucks, Spooky, look at you. Where do I go where Spooky isn't? And I think Spooky, if I'm not mistaken, you're in I think you're in the UK. So you're when I see you like late at night, like you're up in the middle of the night, and when I see you early in the morning, I guess maybe you're up in the afternoon. Oh hey Tori, how are you? Good morning, welcome. Um yeah, so it's good to see Tori too. Tori is a person who I often see come to my streams, and I often see Tori. I see you over at DC streams and Jen streams, I think, which is it's an interesting intersection of things that I watch, and I actually yeah, good to hear that you're good there, Tori. It's good to see you. And if I'm mistaken, Tori, just clear that up. But I was going to say there's a weird intersection I have of the people I know from um I guess what I'll call just roughly the atheist community. So I know a lot of people that are into the atheist community, and because of a very strange small group of theists who are anti science and treat science as a religion and conflate atheism with science. I've been a science lover for a long time. I'm into sciences and stuff, and if you want to say I'm religious about it, fine. Um, it's just semantics, I guess. But I am really into it, and but I don't worship it. I like it because it works. Um, and so what's interesting is is, it's brought me in touch with a bunch of people, in the flat Earth, well, the anti-flat Earth community, but also the flat Earth community, and then also in the anti-MLM community and the anti-cult community. And these things may seem unrelated, but they are wildly similar. Um, Dogmatic religion and cults and MLM and sort of science denial and conspiracy theorists of all kinds have this strange intersectionality. And I'm sure they would all hate the fact that I might be able to use science to show some sort of psychological connection. And thank you, Tori. Yes, I did make a short. It actually, I was surprised how many people saw this short. It got hundreds of views, and I guess maybe shorts work that way because people just look at them for a minute. I got great support from many people. I had one comment that was maliciously religious, I think, because they looked at my other content. But most of them were kind, and the people that just were saying they were praying for me, I thanked them for that, and I do thank people. Theistic people are always welcome to come and talk to me. Um, I'll even allow BBH to come. She's a nutter, but if she wants to come and yell at me, that's fine. But I don't like the way she talks to people. um, and I don't like the way she treats people. And last night, I was half asleep, but I was really pissed off at the way she spoke to our friend Robin Webster, and I told her to get fucked. So, um, she, she maybe she's well intentioned, but she just sure doesn't seem it. And I don't want to make this stream about her, but the comment she made was something about demanding to know whether Robin was a career woman in quotation marks. The quotation marks are what pissed me off. And I tell you what, Robin Webster, an amazing content creator, and I know I will forget to do this because of how my brain works, but if you look her up, um, oh yeah, I'm sure you did, Spooky. Anyway, so I told her to just get fucked. I said Robin's a hardworking woman, get fucked. And you know what? I'm a trucker. Guess what Robin is? Also, also a trucker. I know she works hard. She moves livestock and dairy products. It's a very tough business. And in the US and in Canada, US rules are slightly different than Canadian rules, and I don't haul livestock as a general rule. Some people that know me well know that my family deals with horses and stuff, and I have hauled a horse or two. But that's for private means or private use, helping my in-laws and stuff. But because I can drive a truck and somebody else has to deal with the livestock. But I'm used to handling horses at this point. My wife's family does that. I've been with my wife for 21 years, so I know how to handle a horse. And I've been around horses for a pretty long time. And my daughter is very, very into horses, and I try not to think about how much money that costs. Oh, hey, Joe, good to see you too. Yeah, I'm home. I'm home. I've been home for a week and a half. I'm streaming. I wanted to do this yesterday. I was too tired, and I did a little bit of work on my truck, which kind of killed me. I literally undid 12 half-inch bolts on my truck, and I have these sort of aluminized side steps. The paint's flaking off them. I want to sell my truck, and it just makes the truck look ugly. So I took them off. Maybe I'll sell them separately. If anybody in my area is looking for a set of NFAB truck steps, let me know. They fit a Colorado of the. I don't know if they fit the new generation. They definitely fit like I don't know what it is, like the 2013 to 2021 or 22 or whatever generation. Mine's a 2018, so you can look that up. But I'm looking to actually sell side steps on here. They need a good coat of paint and some TLC, but they work. Um, but yeah, I took them off, 12 bolts, 6 on each side. It took me forever. It took me over an hour to take them off. And it wasn't 50 minutes of finding the right sockets. They're underneath the truck. The bolts got a little rusty. There's a half inch, but I had to figure that out. But yeah, you know what, Spooky? I understand you're mean to her, and I'm mean to her all the time. And I'm mean to her in direct response to her bullshit. And I'm gonna put this one. I'm not gonna put Spooky's thing up there because it's long. But Spooky's saying he apologized. I'm assuming Spooky's a he. I can't remember. Doesn't really matter. What's in your pants doesn't matter to me. I'm not gonna think about it very hard. Pardon the pun. You can be whoever you are. Spooky is talking about this person named BBH. Blessed be he. She's just a piece of work, and she's mean and belligerent and stands beside, I guess, her religion as a reason to be an asshole. And that's one of the things we kind of fight against here, right? It's a weird thing, but they do it. Oh yeah, yeah, Joe, I was watching your stream, but I was starting to fall asleep, and I was trying to type, and then I went to another stream when you were wrapping up, and I couldn't make any sense at all on that one. I can't remember whose stream that was. And then Maya told me I said hello to her twice in the same stream. I can't remember if it was yours or the next one. But yeah, I forgot that I saw Maya in the same stream. But I can't remember what's going on. I'm very tired. That's what is probably not. I'm getting more coffee in me mid-sentence. It's probably not apparent that I'm tired sitting here now, but I can't get enough sleep. And my lungs, I can feel like this sort of tinge in them, and it's slowing me down. But anyway, I won't. We're not going to go on about blessed be he for more than another minute. But I'm just going to say, something that I've seen a lot of people point out: if your religion's telling you to be an asshole, have another look at your religion, because I may be mean to her. Spooky may be mean to her. Joe is a far more gracious streamer and host than I am. But yeah, this bullshit she pulled on Robin. The other thing she says to people, it's bullshit. And one of the conversations that came up yesterday was about traditional values. I love that. I love that conversation. And does anybody want to come on the stream and have a chat, or should I just be like a talking head? I'm gonna put the invitation in the chat, because I trust people here. And I think I can do this. I'm gonna put it in here. If people want to join, they can join. There's a lot of great people in our community, so I trust them. And if you come on and I don't know who the hell you are, I don't know who the hell you are. I'll talk to you for a minute if you spam me. I'll talk. You gotta show me who you are. If I don't know you, gotta show me who you are. If I know you, I'll put you on here. How about that? Anyway, I'm losing viewers from the look of it. So somebody else has probably come on with a good show. So I probably won't go on too much longer. I never think about who else is streaming, but I know some other people, like Brentley streams, right? Sometimes in the morning. I'm not sure what his schedule is. He does a good show, and he pulls up content and goes after it. And I don't know if I should do stuff like that. I don't know if I'd be funny going after shit like that. But I wanted to bring something up specifically, and I actually sent it over to DC's Discord, because I was like, this is MLM in a different coat. That's okay, Joe. I know you would. And Joe, you've had me on your show a bunch of times, and you and I are supposed to stream together on your channel, and we're gonna do that. I know you're changing up stuff, and if you're not subbed to Joe, get over there and check it He's doing great shows now, and I know he's reworking things, and he's had some great new content. It's been off and on. And Joe, I missed part of your show, but I think I heard you say that you changed jobs or lost your job or something like that, or you're not doing what you were doing before for work. I can't remember what you said. It's all over the place. But yeah, I mean that kind of stuff is very disruptive. And I feel like with my illness, I've been not doing my usual thing. So I kind of came on here. I had the energy and the mood struck me to get out here and talk. But what the thing that hit me was this thing from this guy, Arctic Reflections. This guy lives, I'm pretty sure Sweden's where he lives. He's definitely in Scandinavia, or he's from there. He does some great presentations on flat Earth people. Yeah, and I'm sorry, Joe, if you're going through a rough time that way. I mean, I haven't lost my job. Quite the opposite. I still have a job. I just want to get back to, but and they've been really good with me. Confirming that my job will still be there waiting for me no matter how long it takes to get better. But this is not what I was expecting. I mean, my first few days in the hospital, they're like, yeah, a couple of days off, and we'll get you turned right around and be back in a week, maybe two at the most. And it all went sideways when they couldn't solve the problem, and um, my lungs went sideways. Yeah, it's just a rough patch. You're right. You're right, Joe. There's always, what, life's full of rough patches. And I'm sure things will turn around for you real soon. You're a great guy, and I'm not going to get into your background and stuff because it's not my story to tell, but I know you've got a few things. You've had a few rough goes and strikes against you that make it harder than the average person maybe, and I wish you well, because I know you're a good guy, and you know it it's not fair that some things don't work out for people because of this and that decision they make in their life, and things go sideways, and but Joe's just a solid, upright guy, and the systems that look after people and sort things out they're not necessarily fair, and they don't necessarily do what they pretend to do, right? The system's supposed to work things out for people, help them, support them, and protect people, and a lot of what it does is just sort of treat people like shit. And I go down a rabbit hole with that, but I won't. Um, but Joe, I'm going to send you a note on Discord because there's another creator that was talking about stuff that's maybe up your alley, and I think if you don't know them, I'm going to make sure if you don't know them that you get to know them, because I saw something interesting the other day. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to talk for probably 10-15 more minutes, and I think that's probably all I got. Yeah, Joe, I hear you. I hear you. And I know, you know what? Like, um, filing for disability is like a big thing, and I know a few people living that way. Yeah. Uh, have you got it done? Oh, hey, Sumami, good to see you. And Tori, I'm gonna just okay. You've been in and out of DC's chats and gens because response. Yeah, it's responsible adulting. That's why I haven't been a responsible adult. But hey, Sumami, good to see you. You're saying shalom, and I never know whether that's a musical reference or if that's just the way you pronounce hello. Um, and yeah, it's great to see you, Sumami and Tori. So I have a diagnosis. So I had an infection of a microbial infection called mycoplasma, which sounds cooler than it is. It's a common infector of mammals. It's been known about for well over 100 years. It took well, you took it from Jeff the drunk. Okay. See, I have undiagnosed probably ADHD. When I get it diagnosed, I'll let everybody know I have ADHD, and I'll probably figure out ways to handle it. But I'm all over the place, Jeff the drunk. Um, You know what? I know a few people named Jeff, and some of them are drunks and some of them are not. I think maybe, it may even be true that some of the most upright people and some of the least upright people I know are named Jeff. Um, Histoplasmosis. I do not know, Joe. But mycoplasma is basically I just had pneumonia, but the thing that gave me pneumonia was mycoplasma. It's been found in lots of mammal livestock, so excuse me, bovine animals have it. Um, I have asthma and I have obstructive sleep apnea, and both of those things weaken my lungs. And I've had the first time I ever got a lung infection, I was 4. It's one that I remember. If I had ones when I was a baby or whatever, my mom's never mentioned them, but I was hospitalized. I was actually in Florida, which I think is where Sumami is. So I was in Florida with my family for, I think like a March break type thing. I actually don't know if my mom was working. I don't know. My mom would have been working then. So it would have just been whenever my dad got time off, probably just a winter break. And we went down and stayed. We rented like a condo on the beach or whatever my parents thought would be fun. And a couple of days into it, I got really sick. And I just remember I couldn't breathe. I was laying on the floor. I fell out of the bed and I couldn't breathe, and I was just hoping my parents would come and check on me because I knew I couldn't breathe right. My mom came in. The next thing I remember is we were in the car going to the hospital, and they put me in a tent to put the oxygen in me. And I remember they tried to put the thing on my face, and I kept ripping it off. And so they put me in a tent and pumped the oxygen in, and whatever I had, they got it sorted out. But I had a very bad infection. It was a very bad bronchial infection, spread from breathing and fungal spores. Okay, no, it wasn't fungus, and it wasn't bird feces. It's just like it's an airborne one, and a lot of people would be exposed to it and just be fine. What the doctors said. I talked to 2 different um, infectious disease specialists, 2 different doctors because I was there so long. They do a week at a time each. And then I had their I forget what they call it in the US. It might be a pulmonologist in the States, but we call it but lung doctor basically. I think it's a respirologist, but it's a lung doctor. Came and checked it out. So yeah, and so the I had pneumonia in 2019 and I was off in the hospital for like less than a week and I was home recovering for a few days. And back then I ran a construction company. And so I just did a whole lot less um physical work and a whole lot more office work, and I was fine. Anyway, you guys are finding about all these osises, and yeah, I don't know. I'm erudite on many subjects, but not on lung infections. But yeah, so that's where I was. So and Spooky says better than getting anthrax, and I'm thinking Spooky. I don't know if you remember Anthrax the band, but when I was in junior high, I loved Anthrax. And a buddy of mine that he was kind of like my new best buddy in we got to know each other pretty well in junior high and early high school. And then he had a rough go with things and did a bunch of stupid shit, and I think they I think they had to take him away because he had to spend a little bit of time in like a juvenile detention center or something. And we kind of grew apart after that, mostly because he wasn't around. Um, but yeah, still see him every once in a while. He's good. He's basically a good guy with a rough time. Your cousins got pneumonia because they were little because my stupid aunt didn't treat the respiratory infections. Oh fuck. Okay. I think Sumami ran out of time or ran out of letters to type. But that's terrible. Yeah, Tori, you remember Anthrax? More of a punk folk. Yeah. You know what, Spooky? I like almost every kind of music. Getting acupuncture. Yeah. You know what? This is um I'm not that's the closest thing to a woo-woo in your family. Um, I have a family member or 2 who are, not fans of certain types of modern medicine, but they are fans of the unproven, tested and proven wrong ones, and they don't like the ones that are tested and proven right. And it's not fun to try and have conversations with these people because they are they're not bad people. They're badly informed and they're certain that they're correctly informed, which is kind of where, when I woke up this morning, I was like, what am I going to do? I'm watching MC Tune. Um, he had this guy named Gary on last night who's, I'm not sure if he's a flat earther. He's definitely a physics not liker or something. Yeah, I get why you'd resent your aunt for that, Sumami. And yeah. Yeah, you know what? It's hard when someone in your family, like, because you might know this person in your family, you might know them in other ways, right? You know that they're not a bad person. They've just latched on to something wrong, like, and they're just totally fucked in the head. Um, and so last night, MC Tune had this guy, and I watched a little bit of it later in the evening as I was falling asleep. Who's a kinetic energy denier. I believe from listening to him, he doesn't believe in kinetic energy. I don't know if he believes in potential energy, but he definitely doesn't believe in kinetic energy. He does believe in momentum. And he was having arguments with people. And then they had this after show where MC Tune invited friends of the show, people that with largely people with educations in science and physics to come and converse with the guy. And I was watching some of that this morning. And this guy's got a whiteboard, and we all love a whiteboard. Our buddy Dr. Tapp is the whiteboard king. I hope I can say that and people won't disagree with me. But yeah, so this guy was interesting because he likes this guy named Dr. Lowen, who I don't know what kind of a doctor they are. I mean, they're probably a chiropodist or something, but I never looked them up. But he kept on saying this guy does a video where he shoots a gun and he's trying to prove something. He had all these arguments with people. I haven't watched the whole thing. I'm gonna keep watching because I don't know if other people know PhD Tony. PhD Tony, if you like science, his actual channel has amazingly good science on it, and he usually takes a misunderstanding that flat earthers have as a seed, and he says flat earthers say this, but then he'll do like a 10-15 minute show on how the actual science of something works. And the most recent one I remember seeing was one about how hurricanes or are they called cyclones in the southern hemisphere or something? Anyway, oh, it's spooky. Yeah, PhD Tony. So yeah, and I'm not the kind of organized person that's going to put all these links in the thing. If I really get my shit together, I'll try to remember who I talked about. But PhD, I'm pretty sure if you type PhD Tony in to search, you'll find them. And they're commonly Tony's always in chats on MC Tune and sometimes FTFE and I see him other places too. Professor Parks, PhD, is a astronomer. I see PhD Tony hanging out over there too. So you'll see them there, and they, what's great is they give real, solid, good information out. And which is a nice thing to see, and when there's people saying shit that doesn't make sense. Now, one of the things that I like to do when I see people saying things that are wrong is show me what's being said, and then show me where they got it wrong. And I was thinking about this because this guy kept on going on about the equations for like mass and velocity and how they're worked out. And I can't remember the exact ones, and it really doesn't matter. But one thing I've been doing, and this, I'm not shilling for them, but if they want to pay me money to shill, I will, because I don't make any money at all sitting here. But the Brilliant app, I've been doing the Brilliant app for quite a while, and I don't have enough followers for them to give a shit. But if they want to send me a check, I'll just take one because I could fucking use it. But brilliant.com, they have this app, and I'm just gonna look it up here. It's this thing. I don't think the camera can pick it up. Here, see, I'm in the Einsteinium League, because I keep showing up. So I've logged in and done this for 188 days in a row, and I've done 700 and some odd courses, or lessons, or it's lessons. There's lessons. They have from usually 5 to 6 questions up to like maybe 10 or 12 questions that you answer, and it teaches you a little something as you go along. It's pretty cool. And it costs money. I paid money for it back when I was working. I want to say it was about $200 for the year, which is a lot. But I thought about it. I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna do this. I'm gonna do this thing. I'm gonna learn this stuff. Um, I've been talking about going back to school maybe in a couple of years. And I wanna study physics because I really like physics, and I like astrophysics and cosmology and other stuff like that. And because I hang out and talk to Dr. Tap so much, um, he's got me thinking about it as something I could do with my life at some point. And heavy haul trucking is a physical job. I mean, I can maybe do that into my 60s, but after that, what am I going to do with myself? And I might as well become Dr. Al, um, you know, and learn some physics. So that's kind of a plan I have. It's a long-term plan. It's a plan that sort of involves me getting back to work, doing well, getting the kids off to college, and maybe getting myself off to college too. You never know. But I'm lucky to live near a few universities, including the one. There's an astrophysics program at the university closest to my home, which is about a 20-minute drive from my front door. So that's kind of handy. Um, and online learning might make some of this practical for me too. So anyway, I was thinking about the brilliant course, and I have a point. I know I meander all over the place with my conversations, but when you do this stuff, they walk you through how an equation has come to and why it works, and they start with the simple and they move in the more complex. But the more complex is really just bringing more different things into the dynamic movement of things, and showing you that something really simple is just, when it becomes complex, it's just a bunch of simple things strung together. And so when somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about when it comes to science says this is wrong, we need to take a look at, have they actually looked at this, or have they just bought into some bullshit that somebody said? And there's a guy who I'm gonna do a show on, and I'm trying to get Dr. Tap to do it with me. He's a busy guy, and he promises himself to a lot of people. And I'm twisting his arm, and if people want to send him messages and say, you got to do this show with Al, there's a guy who insists that the sun's surface is a lake of liquid metallic hydrogen, and that the spectroscopy that people do on the sun to determine what it's made of and what's going on, he shows charts and says, well, this equals this. He's kind of like Austin Whitsitt with a pleasant demeanor and a German accent, because he just makes spurious claims, doesn't back them up with much of anything, but he says this is this way because of this, and he throws words in there, right? He throws in words that make sense, and he speaks um as though he's an erudite person. He's way more coherent than Whitsitt. Austin Whitsitt, if you don't know, is a word salad generating idiot. Um, he's kind of a combination of the Dunning Kruger effect and some sort of, like, it might be narcissism, but I don't know psychology well enough to know. He is extremely humble. If you ask him, he's one of the most humble and braggadocious people at the same time. Um, and he's only humble in his own mind. He's hilarious. The sun is real. It wasn't replaced by a hologram. Spooky, you're hilarious. Um, yeah, I've heard somebody was telling me about this. Um, it might have been Dr. Tap, actually. I think somebody told me about this hologram thing, and I haven't seen a video on it yet. I got to look that up. But that somebody's out there saying that everything's a fucking hologram. Um, and that's fucking hilarious. Um, but yeah, no, I so what's interesting to me is that, like, when you do an equation in physics, when I was taught physics in high school, and I went to school in Ontario, so we had this thing called grade 13, um, which was meant to be kind of like almost like first year university. And from what I've experienced going to university, the classes were smaller numbers than a real university, but very similar in structure. So you'd go to a lecture once a week, and you'd go to like a lab type thing, right? Um, the other day of the week kind of thing. And we had the way our school was set up, you had long periods and short periods. As time, like, as the week went on, it depended. Like, you'd have a double and a single period of this stuff, and then you'd sort of do work in the science classes. You'd do lab work one day a week, and you'd do this other stuff another day of the week, and you'd do a big project, um, which would sort of be your big thing for the term. And I went to a full year, not what they call it a semester school, where you do one course for half the year and the other course for the other term, which is what my daughter does at high school. So she does, like, the first term, she has a course. So say she does physics this term, she won't do physics at all after the Christmas break, after they do exams in January. Um, so yeah, so and I went to a school where it was right like September to June, in the same course. So it was a different setup, and I'm not sure if they still have both setups here or not. Because what my daughter goes to is the only thing I'm familiar with locally. But yeah, so you'd go for a full year and you'd be in there. So it was structured like a university course, and so my grade 13 physics teacher, I remember he would, and he was a PhD actually, which was not a requirement, but he was a PhD. And he would start with like, this is something really simple. So we talked about like mechanics. We'd be talking about, okay, there's this thing on a flat surface and it hits this thing, and then what happens to it, right? You go through like the very basic stuff, and then you move into like, well, what if this thing is moving in 3D space? What happens there? And they talked about adding vectors and all that kind of stuff. And I think like the vector adding thing is something that is really really simple, and it's so simple that flat earthers and other science deniers don't believe it's that simple. Um, and it's a complex thing to think about, but you can add up all the factors and figure out where something is, even in 3D space. It's a lot to think about, but if you do it step by step, you get to the same spot. And that's something that I think, if science deniers had real science education, they would see that a bunch of simple things add up to something more complex, but it's only complex because a bunch of simple things have happened. And and then they get caught up in the minute details, which is worth looking at. Um, so they don't want to talk about things that exist, or they talk about them and get hung up on them when they're not irrelevant, but they're very very small. So things like the heat loss in a simple collision. Hey PC, good to see you. Good to see Crystal always. Um, and Crystal, why are you not a mod on my channel? Good morning. Good morning. I've got to figure out how to make you a mod on my channel, because if you don't have PC as a mod on your channel, you just haven't made it in YouTubing. So, um, I'll figure out how that's done. Like, go to me and see like my videos. Like, it should show that I'm like, am I here? I'm on a live one. So it doesn't show this live one here. That's weird. Oh shit. What the hell that's that thing. That guy was yelling. Two different ways. Two different ways of what? I'm gonna learn how to do some YouTubing here. It's like, I feel like if I went to like, um if I'm like, go to YouTube Studio, can I like figure out who's there? I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Content. I don't know how to do it. Just touch your name in chat. It'll give you the option. Yeah, but can I do that from here? Or do I have to go to the other thing? I don't know. Okay. See, I can't do it from here. So I got to go. See, I got to go to YouTube and touch your name in the chat, right? That's what I gotta do. Okay, so first I gotta find myself. Um, I gotta find myself streaming. Um, this is so difficult. I go here and like, will I find myself? Oh man, there's another guy kind of like this. Okay, so can I do this and then do that and then okay. Here we go. Add as moderator. There we go. There we go. Did it work? Okay. There we go. I put PC on there as a mod, so hopefully that works. Listen to Joe. Go to dashboard settings, then community. Holy shit. All right. Okay, well I put PC in there. And PC, I might have made you the wrong kind of moderator. Just I don't know, let people say fuck and shit and whatever. Just don't let people be assholes. You can say asshole, you just can't be an asshole. That's the rule on my channel, okay? I don't care. I don't care what the fuck you say, honestly, in terms of cuss words. Just don't be a piece of shit to people. And don't say slurs. No slurs. You can say fuck. You can say fuck anytime you want on my channel. Fuck isn't if fuck offends you, just get the fuck out of here. What I'm offended by is slurs and stuff. And actually, I'm gonna shill for my own channel. And PC was super, super cool. What is bottom burps? Spooky. What is bottom burps? I don't know what the fuck that is. Should Spooky be a mod on my channel? Spooky, are you a mod person? Should you be modded? I'll mod you for like I'll mod you for like just being a cool guy. How's that sound? Um Farts. Oh fuck. So yeah, you can say fart. I don't care. So yeah, so the PC, Pragmatic Crystal talked me into doing a video version of an essay I wrote, and some people read the essay. Um, and yeah, okay, got it. Okay, this is just some weird. It's one of those weird like English UK type things. Um, and I had a couple of friends from the UK that taught me a lot. Also, I have family from the UK. Including I have a cousin who is Welsh by birth, and her father's Welsh, because her family lived in Wales when she was born, but then she moved back to Canada. Oh, okay, thank you, PC, appreciate it. So yeah, so that essay I made into a video, and that video I made, largely like 99% of it was Crystal encouraging me to do it, and 1% of it was me walking from my usual seat where I'm recovering. You're welcome, Spooky. Um, yeah, I mean, basically, and if BBH ever comes in here, I know she doesn't give a shit about me, and I don't know if I do enough anti-God content to get her ire up. But yeah, she can come in here and talk. But if she starts treating people like shit, you can pause her, and if she gets stupid, boot her. I'm cool with that. But if she wants to just have a conversation, I enjoy the conversation. I don't like the bullshit, and I think people know that. Anyway, that essay I wrote, and maybe I'll talk about this just for a minute. Oh yeah, fuck yeah, she's like Beetlejuice, right? I mentioned her before, Joe. And I think you came in talking about her, so you never fucking know. I know she has like spies out there that are like, oh, BBH, got to get over here. You gotta go give Al a hassle. Um, yeah, Jesus never lived. He was never a real Messiah. And no Messiah will ever come because it's just nonsense. God's not real either. I'll say that shit right now. That's my take on it. If you believe God exists and is running your life, so be it. Just don't tell me to run my life based on a bunch of crazy rules that were made up 2,000 years ago, and we'll be cool. And there's a bunch of stuff that I don't like, but what I wrote in this essay, and the gist of it was learning to be kind and empathetic to people. And I think people know that when I'm not trucking and when I'm not convalescing and stuff, I like to fight for the rights of people that are living with certain diseases, and I decided to fight for people that live with the diseases I have. And I have a lot of intersectionality of different things in my life. And I'm really lucky to have it because instead of having a life where everything's just been perfect, hey, shaken fist, Zach. I remembered your name, Zach, and I think you spell it Z-A-C. So yeah, Zach. Good to see you. It's Zed, by the way. For Americans, that's Z, I think you pronounce it. But yeah, good to see you, Zach. I didn't even know you knew I had a channel. But yeah, there we go. So no, my deal is, I've lived with obesity most of my life. And I've lived with issues related to that. And I have a bunch of comorbidities, and I live with type 2 diabetes. And so I actually was given what they call a fellowship. And this is not a Lord of the Rings type thing, although it feels like it some days. So I'm working with another gentleman, and when this thing comes out, I'll be advertising it um, to people and letting people know about it. And one thing that's for certain is we're going to share some of it on social media. So when there's links to that, I'll provide them. But we're putting together a project right now, and we had a good long meeting about it last night for over an hour with the people I'm working with, and it was good to get off the couch and do something with that too. And that was probably part of the reason I was so tired. That and the running board thing. It was a lot for me, and I'm not used to. I'm used to working 12, 14 hours a day and feeling and you knew I had a YouTube channel because of DC. In DC, I would like to promote DC. DC has lots of members and lots of subscribers, and she does a great job at boosting her own channel. But I'm gonna boost it for her too because she has a fun time looking at MLM stuff, which is multi-level marketing, which I'll talk about too for a second. But yeah, it's good to see you, Zach, and Tori. I'm glad you're here hanging out. Tori is great. I don't know if Tori does content. I should know, but I don't. Um, yeah, Tori, she did like a join to one of my songs. It turned out it was really shitty. Um, that video, and I'm gonna redo it. And I didn't realize that the sound had gotten as fucked up as it did on the output until I listened to it on the premiere. I should have like hidden it and listened to it. Um, so I'm gonna redo that one. And I tried recording the lyrics again yesterday. But yeah, that's an anti-flat Earth one, which my wife has told me I should stop making anti-flat Earth content because I'm making fun of people who are. Tori does not do content. Okay, so don't go sub to Tori because you're not going to see any content. But you can sub to her just if she has a channel, just to like give her a boost. And PC does do content, and if you want to have a calm nature immersion and you're stuck in your house like I am, PC is going to take you out on the bayou. And I don't know if it's actually on the bayou. I shouldn't just say that. 509 PC, you're doing awesome. I think I hit over 100. And yeah, you hit 500 the other day. And I was cheering you on. I think it was in Titans DC. Um, but yeah, and yeah, David Attenborough. Exactly. Yeah, no, PC's content is a lot of it's different views of the same thing. It's often with music, sometimes with a little bit of conversation, often with wildlife interactions. Gators. Am I at 103? If that was my temperature, I'd have to go to the ER. Um, yeah, patience. Well, and that's what this stream's about patience. I have to have patience with my own recovery, which is tough to do. I'm not in the mood to be patient. As I was saying, like I work 12, 14 hours a day and feel pretty worn out at the end of the day, but then I come home, eat a meal, go to sleep, wake up the next morning and go back to work and I feel good. Yesterday, I worked for a little over an hour in the morning. I had maybe an hour and 15 minutes on a Zoom call um, in the evening with hours of separation in between where I was just like playing my video game. And in my video game, I'm playing SnowRunner and I'm trucking because SnowRunner is a game where you truck stuff around. So obviously I'm missing work a lot. Um, but yeah, this is kind of where I'm at. Um, I'm not having patience to get back at it. I'm not giving myself the time. But tomorrow I will have a physiotherapist come by, so that'll be a good thing. And I'm gonna keep doing a bit of exercise I think I can do to try and get my arms back in shape. Um, and my legs too a little bit. I'm doing a little bit of walking. I've done a few deadlifts. The last time I did deadlifts, I needed to sit down for a minute after doing 5 deadlifts with a really low weight. I did 135. Um, and to put it in perspective, pulling 405 off the ground is something I can do with no prep when I'm well. So yeah, I've lost a lot of strength. I had no trouble pulling 135 up, but my endurance was not good. Round is a shape. Well, you know what, Joe? It is a shape, and part of the point of my work and advocacy for people living with obesity, and I'm not suggesting that Joe is living with obesity. Um, if he wants to identify as such, I'll not stop him from doing that. It's definitely definitionally shouldn't be just based on BMI. It should be based on where excess adipose tissue causes you other disease states. If you have more adipose tissue than the average person, but you have regular strength, endurance, your heart and your lungs are working properly, and you don't. If you have no disease states from it, it's fine. BMI is only a good indicator for a population. So if you take like 10,000 people and check their height to weight ratio, you could say 20% of them are living with obesity, or 40% of them are living with obesity based on those numbers. But when you look at them as an individual, you're going to find people at all sorts of different weights. And I would be morbidly obese if I was at 0% body fat, because I have so much muscle and bone density. And honestly, you may not be able to tell from this picture, but my melon is huge. My head alone must weigh 30 pounds. I was at my BMI in the early 20s and looked like death. You see your bones. Yeah. So Zach, yeah, the body is round, says Sumami. Um, Sumami, and I have talked about our bodies, and this is not to shame or put anybody out on the carpet, but Sumami's body is relatively small, and my body is relatively large. And I can't remember for sure, but I'm pretty sure my neck circumference is the same as Sumami's waist circumference. I think that's what we figured out. And Sumami, if that's wrong, let me know. You might remember better. But the point is, people come in all shapes and sizes, and some people like me are built really large, and I do want to get less excess adipose tissue to increase my health. My wife and I are very happy together, and I'm not looking to find a mate, although living with excess adipose tissue can, change how that works for you, because there's a lot of bias about whether you should have this amount of adipose tissue or that amount of adipose tissue. Um, Aesthetics are important, I guess, to a point, and aesthetics can talk about health to a point. But who people are underneath whatever is going on with them, whether they're really slim, really large like me, um, what people will call a fat person, which is not a term I appreciate, and I said that in my essay. Um, and one of the things that's often said is you have fat, you aren't fat, right? Like that's one of the things that I think I said that in the essay, and I'll say it again. You aren't your comorbidities. You're not your disease state. And we don't say it about everything. We say it about certain things, but not other things. And so person first language is important to me. And so I will take a minute to say this is like, I would like to say that a person lives with obesity, that they live with diabetes. You aren't a diabetic person. You are not a fat person or an obese person. You're a person that lives with that. And one of the common things we go to is a disease that a lot of people have experience with, because it's actually a collection of diseases, is cancer. So lots of people have cancer. And we don't say, "Hey, look at that cancer person over there." You know? What no, it doesn't matter what kind of cancer. We don't say, "Look at that breast cancer person over there." We'll often say that, "Here's Jill, she's a breast cancer survivor." Right? We'll say things like that. But no one would look at me and say, "There's Al, he's an obesity survivor." But I am an obesity survivor. I've survived to the age of 48 living with obesity. Um, yeah, no, Zach, this is a good point, and my fellowship partner and I've talked about this. And people say, "Well, you're not really forced to eat it," but this word "forced" is really, really important word to look at, because we're not forced to eat a food. You're forced to make a choice, and if all your choices are bad, you may be just making the least bad choice. And a lot of the bad choices lead to what some people will call a food addiction. And disordered eating is a big problem too. Yeah, yeah, no, and I absolutely get what you're saying. I am so Zach is saying here, much easier to burn weight in the UK than in the USA. Maybe EUK is Europe in the UK. And I've only been to the UK at the airport, so I've been to Europe, and food in Europe is different. I haven't been there in a lot of years, over 30 years, but so it might be different. But food in Europe is different. Grocery stores in Europe are different. They're probably more American now. And by forced on the shelf and the price, these are very important things, because we talk about food deserts, and what they do to people. And so what ends up happening is people with lesser means tend to shop at very um, wrong choice places, because there's no place else to go. I saw a documentary about people living in certain areas of the U.S. where the only place to shop for groceries is the gas station, because none of the grocery chains will put a store there, because it's ridden with crime and drug use, and the people that live there are economically disadvantaged or poor. They're living in poverty, and people who live in poverty can't afford to buy fresh meat and fresh produce, because fresh meat and fresh produce is really expensive. But fresh meat and fresh produce is the kind of food that generally grows in the ground. And Aunt Jer's here with an important thing. I'm gonna finish the thought if I can, and then I'm gonna move on to Aunt Jer's thought. And um, Aunt Jer, I can't remember if Aunt Jer makes videos, because I haven't watched any of them for a long time. But Aunt Jer sells cool shit, or she did. And Aunt Jer, if you still do, please put your shop in the comments, because um, if you still sell that stuff, I haven't bought any of it yet, mostly because I don't have any extra money. I don't have any extra money for anything. I'm not dying. Please don't send me money. Please don't offer me money. I'm not looking for money. But please shop with Aunt Jer, because that's one of her jobs, is making and selling this cool stuff. And yeah, and food deserts are places where you can't buy good food. And if you think about the average farmer, and I live in farm country, so I can walk to cash crop and livestock production in 5 minutes from my house. I can be surrounded, and that's what walking, not driving. It's less than a minute of driving, but walking, I can be in farm fields. There are pig, chicken, and beef and dairy farmers all walking distance from my home. And there's a few Christmas tree farms around here, interestingly. And I used to cut Christmas trees out of my own yard before they got really big, but for 3 or 4 years we got Christmas trees because they were a good size. Thank you for putting your spring store up there, Aunt Jer. Um, and I have to look at your store again, but I remember you made some really cool art and word saying, and Aunt Jer's a wordsmith. and she's creative, so go check that out. Um, so yeah, when like food deserts shouldn't exist. Um, Definitely not here, definitely not in the USA. Do you know how much agriculture goes on in the USA? And if you pull a pea off of a pea plant, or a bean off of a bean plant, or a tomato, or you pull an onion out of the ground, garlic, all these things. You can grow these things in your own yard, but farmers are growing them. They pull them out of the ground, they rinse them off, and they send them to market. There's no processing involved. Meat needs to go to a slaughterhouse or an abattoir. Some people don't eat meat because of this, and I won't go into graphic details, but when meat is processed, generally meat is animals are killed, and if you're not into that, I get that. I'm totally cool with it. I eat meat, I hunt, I haven't hunted in a while and I want to get back at it, but I hunt and I fish, and I'm into take and I'd rather take animals and harvest them from the wild, but I do eat meat from agriculture, and there's a lot of issues in that. It's better in many places than some, but not all, and so that's a choice people have to make. And I'm eating less meat now than I used to. But the animals basically need to be processed into small cuts of meat, right? Um, yeah, and Tori's talking about this, the Dollar General, and you know what? I've been to the U.S. many times, and I've seen where a community, it's a half-hour drive if you're lucky enough to have a car to a grocery store, and it's a 5-minute walk, or 10-minute walk to, not a real grocery store, right? Oh, 3 coloring books on Amazon. Cool. Thank you, Aunt Jer, for sharing that, because Aunt Jer does great content, um, and she's always got something interesting to say. And I think that's the great thing about people in my chat, people in chats that where I hang out. There's a lot of interesting people mixed in with some of the nutters. Um, and it's good to listen to the nutters too. I've said this so many times. We shouldn't live in an echo chamber. Um, Living in an echo chamber means we don't hear other people's thoughts on things, even if they might be bad thoughts. So we should give them a go. So the guy I was listening to last night and again this morning. Um, So this guy's saying like kinetic energy doesn't exist. Okay, let's take a look at that. What is kinetic and potential energy? Oh, hey, Commander. Deep State Annex is Commander. For those that don't know, I'm sure most of us do. Deep State Annex also does um, content on usually a weekly show. I haven't been on it in a long time. I should be. Here, I'm going to make Deep State Annex is going to be moderator too, because you know what? It's a good thing that they are. Um, so Commander is going to be a mod on my channel now. I'm a mod on their channel, and Commander also is frequently on Slim Cyborg's channel, where I'm a frequent guest. I haven't been on there a lot recently because I honestly haven't had the energy, and being at home is harder too because my family's home with me a lot of times when the show's on, and I can't speak freely on Slim's show because on Slim Show is not PG-13. It's a mix between mature adult and sometimes maybe even triple X. I'm not really sure. There's no graphic, material displayed that's over the top, but it's not a place for children. And my kids are young enough. I wouldn't expose them to everything that goes on over there. Lots of it's just good commentary on politics, on flat Earth and conspiracy theories, on nutters and stuff. But Slim's channel is great. It's a lot of fun. Oh, I don't know, Mikey, if anybody's liked this video. I should like it myself. Did anybody like it? I've got 11 people watching and 5 likes when I liked it myself. Mikey, how are you doing? Mikey has a great channel and also hangs out with Neil the 604 atheist. And they had me on their channel and I had a lot of fun there. Thank you, Zach. Yeah, no, I appreciate likes. I guess that's good for the algorithm and stuff. So Aunt Jer said something interesting, and this is something that I'm gonna put up here. Um, Here we go. I said I'd get back to it. I didn't get all the way through the whole grocery desert, food desert thing, but I think we understand that um, processed foods, the cheapest ones. So interestingly, the more we do to a food, the cheaper it gets. And that's because we're taking good solid foods, the less processed foods like meat and vegetables and fruits that are the good things to eat and the things I try to eat as much as I can. We take those things, we add a bunch of fillers and crap to them. We add a lot of like highly processed grains and sugars to them, and we call that food. And why is it cheaper to send all the good food to a factory and mix it with a bunch of shit? It's because it's cut with shit. That's why. End of story. Um, and it's highly palatable and it's not good for you. Now, Aunt Jer puts out something very interesting here. And I want to point out that I am living with a disability right now that I don't usually have. But I do have a chronic pain that makes it hard for me to walk. I do not walk with a normal gait because I have chronic nerve pain. So I know a little bit about this, but this chronic nerve pain I take a medication for, and the more I move, it gets a little bit better. The more I move, I can move a little bit more. My current state right now, I'm living with a temporary disability because my lungs aren't working and my muscles have atrophied to the point where I'm not in good shape. So I'm putting this comment up here because this is this is a very important person first language thing. Aunt Jer, and I appreciate that she's willing to share this, and Aunt Jer shared this with me before that she lives with a disability. Um, and because of that disability, Aunt Jer has less mobility than many of us do, less mobility than I have, even though I also live with chronic pain. I'm still usually mobile. This disability I have right now is temporary. Um, it's a disability. I'm not going to go and get like a handicap sticker for my truck for the few weeks that I'm going to be in this state, but it is very hard for me to walk into a store. I took my son on the weekend to a Pokemon card shop he wanted to go to. And I realized when I got there, I'm not taking any of the handicap spots, but I'm looking for the closest one to the door I can find without being in one of those spots because I'm like, I cannot walk this whole parking lot. And when I'm walking, I'm shuffling. Like it's one foot in front of the other and taking a pause every 5 or 6 steps. It's needing to hold on to the wall of a building. It's needing like my wife and my daughter want me to carry a cane. I've been pushing back against that. I probably should have one just to help steady myself because I get dizzy sometimes because of my hair. Um, so I consider that to be living with a temporary disability because I can't just walk. And Aunt Jer does not need to share anything more about her disability she lives with, but she lives with a disability. And yeah, I think this is really, really important. Um, there's a lot of terms, and I hope some of these would be considered slurs, and I'm gonna say a couple of them just to sort of point out the way we use language and how it could affect someone, right? So we used to talk about people being crippled, um, and cripple is actually so we talk about a cripple stud is actually like a thing we use in construction, and we still use that word. And there's some other words we use that are interesting. And I'm just pulling that down because I'm gonna keep talking about this, but there's some more things we're gonna put up there. And Zach has put up an interesting one, and I think Zach must have big thumbs like me because his words are coming out like this. And I am Victoria. Welcome here. Oh, Tori, I know this story. I'm gonna put Tori's story up in a second, and I'm gonna talk about this because I heard about this. Yeah, so you are Victoria. We'll just call you Victoria. But when I say you are Victoria, I'm like, well, I am Victoria, and I think Victoria knows that's the way I refer to them every time I see them. And I'm gonna put Tori's, but so Zach says more people realize having a better vocabulary and using it better can literally change your mental state. Changing the language you use changes how you think as we, for the most part, like, yeah, and we need to think about this. We need to think about all of this. Um, oh, Tori, it's a different story than the one I heard, but it's a very similar one. Very similar. We're gonna have to look at a few of those. Anyway, Victoria is awesome. Um, you know what? So far, all the people that are chatting in the chat are awesome people. There might be some assholes hiding because they don't want to come out and hang out with all these good people. I don't know, but all the good people are here. Well, there's room for more, but all the people that are here are great, great folks. Love seeing, love seeing these folks in the side chats, and I love seeing these folks in the in my chat and talking to people. So yeah, so the words we use. So a couple of other words that I hear people use for people living with a disability is invalid. And I've heard people break that down. It's invalid, you know. And that's a weird fucking thing to call someone invalid. Um, and I used to do work for a wheelchair and medical device company, and they had part of that terminology in their name. And they were lovely people that worked there, and I understand why they named their company what they named. I'm not going to name them because I don't want to call them out, but I remember thinking, oh, I always thought it was weird. And the other thing is handicapped. That's another word. Yeah, Tori, yours. I can tell, Tori, that yours is different because you said this is a teacher, and it's in Ohio, and This was in a different state. But I'm gonna talk about that story because it's a really cool one. Yeah, and yeah. So this, yeah, Mikey, you're right. Like there's no that implies they're without a function, and so people live with a disability. Aunt Jer is a great example of this, and I think even I can even say I am too, even with my temporary disability. I'm still working on my fellowship. I can't drive a heavy haul truck right now. I can drive my personal truck around. I could probably drive my truck around for a few hours, but I couldn't drive it for a full shift. I'd be too tired, and I would pull myself off the road if I felt that tired. I would not drive either my personal vehicle, my motorcycle, or my heavy haul truck. I wouldn't drive any of them if I felt as tired as I sometimes feel. I would pull myself off the road. And the other day when my wife and I went to the doctor, I drove us there. I did the stuff we did at the doctor, and I told her, like, you drive us home. I'm too tired. Um, I just couldn't do anymore. It was towards the end of the day. I'd already done a few things on the phone and whatnot. I just couldn't do it. I need to take responsibility for myself and what my limitations are. But it doesn't mean I can't do things. It doesn't mean I can't talk. I can sit here and talk to people here. I'm not reading off a script. I'm not really trying to accomplish anything very specific here. I'm just sharing my thoughts and listening to other people's thoughts. So this is pretty easy. But you know what? When I'm done this, I'm probably gonna just veg out for like an hour and a half. You know, I'm gonna have a shower and I'm gonna sit down and relax. So here's what I want to get back to. This story that Tori's telling here, right here. And so I know many of you probably watch The Friendly Atheist, Hemet Mehta. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. He's a great guy. Love his show. And he also, I don't know if he always has it on, but he has a co-host sometimes, and she's also lovely. And they take on these stories about things where God's maybe gotten super involved. So this one here sounds like it's not necessarily a religious one. So the one I'm talking about was very religious because the person lost their job. And yeah, Friendly Atheist. There you go, PC. I don't know, PC, if you pulled up the exact story. It was within the last 48 hours. I don't remember when I watched this. Everything sort of runs together with how tired I am. But in the last 48 hours, I watched this video, so I think it's newer. And this guy basically said, "My religion requires that I treat people like shit if they pretend they're trans." And pretend they're trans. He doesn't believe in it. And I'll get into that in a minute about something else. Um, Okay. Oh, Zach, you're going back to editing? Okay, enjoy. Thank you. Thank you, Zach. I appreciate it. So Tori's put this story up here, and I'll try to get through this whole thing without going on a squirrel trail. Um, you guys can help me get diagnosed for ADHD by just watching me here. There's a teacher who worked at a local school district who refused to refer to a few of their trans students as their preferred name and would only refer to them as their current legal name. And so this is something I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say now, and I'm gonna say I will not say this if it offends people, and if any of my trans viewers want to weigh in on this. Ember's weighed in on it and said it's context specific. And Ember is a trans woman who I think we all know and love. And so the word in question is tranny, which I use as the short form for transmission. And so if you hear me say tranny, I am always referring to the transmission on my truck, never anything else. And if it offends you, I'm going to try to stop saying it at all. But it's something we say all the time. Hey, Nitty, good to see you. And if you don't know, Nitty loves titties. So this person here that Tori's talking about has said they just want to refer to them as their current legal name. So if somebody comes in and let's just go to the silly old reader books, Jack and Jill. So if someone was born in whatever form, and their parents named them Jack because they had male sex organs, say, and they get to be a little bit older and realize that Jack is actually feels a whole lot more like Jill, and that's who they are. And it's not just how they feel; it's who they are. It's the essence of who they are. And they've come to terms with that, and they say, "Hey, we are we are now going to be Jill," and their family hopefully supports them. They may or may not. A lot of people don't get this. I don't actually get it. I haven't lived this life. I don't. So that's why I'm struggling with the words to describe what's going on. Okay. Um, and I hope it's okay that people can understand that my capacity for having the right words and the right terminology is not from it's not from not being sympathetic or empathetic. It's being unaware of what it would feel like. And this is what I was writing about in my essay. No, I was not writing about trans people in my essay. I was writing about people living with obesity and living with other disease states. And being trans, I don't think is a disease at all. I don't think it's a mental condition. I think it's just an essence of who a person is. I think gender is fluid. And I think I've met lots of people where it was obvious their gender was fluid. And the people I met earlier in my life where being trans was not going to be accepted, struggled a lot. And I could see these were wonderful people who are there. Um, that they exist. Pretending they don't exist pisses me off first and foremost. And not being able to respect them and treat them with respect pisses me off a little bit more. And I'm going to talk about this in a second, but I'm just going to refer to this teacher. So a few people have said this that they don't want to use the names, and teachers seem to be where it comes. Um, oh, okay, great, Joe. You go. Yeah, I definitely want to see. I want to see what Donnie, who's always out of his fucking element, has got to say. Bye, Joe. We'll catch you later. And if you come back and watch this later, Joe, just go to 1 minute 23, and I'm gonna go off on something that I hope people won't be overly offended by, because there's certain people I don't want to offend, but I'm gonna say something, and I'm not gonna call out a particular place. I'm gonna call it a particular behavior because that's what I want to do. But Tori, thank you for bringing up this topic. Um, and I want to thank PC too for being the modest mod. Um, a lifeguard if you're in unfamiliar waters. That's a good idea, Mikey. Um, and maybe I need a lifeguard right now, Mikey. That might be what you're saying. I'm not sure. But yeah, no, I see what Tori's saying here. I'm gonna put this up here. It's okay to have these views. Okay, you can not understand this, and you can be like, no, this is okay. And yeah, you know what? These kids need to be respected at school. Absolutely, they do. I'm really understanding and empathetic of needing to protect children when they're in places where things are rough. Now, um, I'm not telling this person that they're trans, but there was a young person I grew up with who, was born into a body that would be typically thought of as male, from a sex characteristic point of view, but gender-wise, I could tell this person really, really hung on to, the female, and I actually I wanna thank this person. I will not call them out. I do not This person is not in my life anymore. They're a person I went to elementary school with. They were a super lovely kid. I liked hanging out with them and playing with them. They liked stuff that I liked, introduced me to Doctor Who for the first time ever, I'm gonna say. Um, but this person really identified with female characters in fiction and loved them, and also introduced me to that idea because I think as kids we're taught to sort of emulate what we are, more or less, from a sex and gender point of view, and to want to grow up to be that. And I learned from them very early on, probably as early as kindergarten, that female characters are awesome too. And when I think of all the female people in my life, they're mostly really fucking great people. And so wanting to emulate those great things in those people is fantastic. And I also had the great pleasure of learning from lots of people I met who were what we might have called a tomboy, who had nothing to do with their gender, just were into stuff that guys were into, and they were really fucking good at it. And I always loved that. I always loved seeing a female person excel at something that was traditionally thought to be male, and vice versa. I always loved it when somebody could just run circles around people on things that were like not thought to be gender appropriate. When I was a kid, that was a major thing. So I hate that mentality, and it seems to be something that's a diehard in a few people, but a lot of people have gotten over. And what your what your gender presentation is, what your gender is inside yourself, and what your sex organs are, aren't necessarily going to correlate. And a very small percentage of people, it's all sort of fucked up from what they're expecting or what they want it to be, what they need it to be for them. But these people are being hung out to dry by politicians and in what are they called? Influencers. It's fucking bullshit. Let these people live their lives. And if it really, really is important to you to know what kind of genitalia I have in my pants because of the way I look here on the screen, I don't know what to fucking tell you. But unless we're sleeping together, you're not gonna end up seeing what's going on because even though I'm not against nudism, it's just not something I'm into. I'm not gonna do it. I would consider it if I'd lived a different life. Um, yeah, I wanna bring to people's attention, like, just think for 2 seconds about what's in your pants and how often that actually comes into play in your day-to-day life when you're interacting with normal people. I'm not talking about, like, if an essay type situation is going on, and unfortunately, like, that's a whole rabbit hole. I won't go down that rabbit hole. That shouldn't be a problem for people, but people with, a certain type of, gender, fear greatly for their physical safety often in certain situations, and that shouldn't happen. And I'm just gonna say it shouldn't happen. I'm not gonna go down the rabbit hole because I'm trying to stay on one topic at a time. It's hard to do. But, if somebody and this is something I talked about in my essay, and I hope people do go and listen to my video because I think it was a pretty good one. And, it could use improvement, of course, and maybe I'll redo it when my voice is even stronger. It seems to be pretty close to normal now, but it's not quite there. And, this binary thinking thing is what I'm gonna get into. So here we go. Um, this is Tori's comment here. As long as what someone chooses to be referred to as reasonable and appropriate, especially those kids, don't care if they're decent, respectful individuals. Yeah, if your kid comes into your classroom and says, "I want to be Captain Asshole," and they want the teacher to call them asshole all day long, that's probably not going to fucking happen. But if Jack comes in and says they're Jill, Just fucking call them Jill. Let Jill be Jill, because Jill is Jill. And also, get over the fact that nobody is chasing your kids around with a fucking scalpel trying to change their genitalia without your knowledge or permission. That's just not fucking happening. It never has been happening. So we need to get rid of that. And then I'm failing the ADHD test. Why? Victoria, are you saying that I'm not having ADHD right now and that I'm passing it and then I'm showing that I have ADHD? Binary thinking is dangerous and it's not reality. PC, that is true. And PC, I think you made this change recently. I fucking love it. This smiling sneer thing you've got going on. I don't know where it came from, but it fucking reminds me of Tank Girl. See, Victoria, I do have ADHD. PC, I think that's a newer one. Anyway, I love it. I love that. I don't know if that's your mouth or somebody else's mouth, but it gives me it reminds me of Lori Petty and Tank Girl for some reason. Yes, PC is an amazing artist. But here it is. Binary thinking is dangerous, not reality. So there are some people I've interacted with on YouTube who I think are at heart decent people and have. And the reason I think they're decent people is because when talking about other subjects, they have reasonable opinions. They have reasonable thoughts. And I think it's possible for a person to be reasonable on one thing and unreasonable on another, and that could possibly be me on many subjects. I'm willing to be that person. I'm willing to admit that could be me. And so I'm not dismissing these people entirely. And if you listen to this and you feel like you're being called out, you're not necessarily being called out. I may or may not be talking about you. But some people that I know on YouTube have recently said a couple of things that really worry me. And one of them is about denying the existence of trans people and of gay and lesbian people and other queer identified people. And I just want to say, you're wrong. Those people do exist. I know those people. I know those people online. I know them in real life. They are real people. They have real emotions. They have real feelings. And they have real lives. And they live and love with other people. They love those people as friends. They have oftentimes partners or spouses. And they are just good fucking people. Some of them are fucking dicks and assholes. That fucking happens. Sometimes somebody is a thing that makes them an asshole, not because they're that thing. They're just an asshole and they happen to also be gay, for instance. And I point that out because I recently came across a post of somebody who was an out gay performer who everyone of every sexual orientation and whatever you want to say said that guy is a giant fucking asshole to everybody, and they shouldn't deserve any kind of accolades at all, just because they're fucking gay. And that's true. Being gay, lesbian, trans, questioning, queer, gender fluid. What I hope I haven't missed any. I probably have. There's the ace people and all that. There's a lot of different things people are sexually. And guess what? If they're not your sexual partner, it doesn't fucking matter what they are. Remember that. There's 8 billion people on the planet. And even if you think you're the sluttiest fucking person on earth, most of them are never going to fucking see what you got or sleep with you or know whether you're a good lover or not. It's just not going to fucking happen for most of them. The vast majority. There isn't enough time. You don't have time to fuck 8 billion people. You just don't. And if you're not fucking someone, what they do in their bedroom privately is their fucking business. Even if they do it in their kitchen, their basement dungeon, on their fucking roof, as long as they're not, exposing young children to it, like, just fucking leave them alone and let them live their lives. We shouldn't have to have And we have to have these things. We should not have to have pride parades for people that wanna live their lives their way. They're not hurting people. They should be able to do that. And if you're against them having it, take a look at why they need to. People have been killed. People have been attacked and abused, and it's still happening. And for some reason, a reason I can't wrap my head around, trans people in particular are being ostracized and they were always ridiculed. When I was a kid, like, there was 3 things you didn't wanna be when I was a kid. First thing is you didn't wanna be a girl if you were a boy. Being a girl was the worst thing you could possibly be. Being gay was the second worst thing you could be, and the third worst thing you could be is and there was no differentiation between, but basically being someone who was either trans, cross-dressing, or acting like, not their gender. And those things were ridiculed ad nauseum. Also ridiculed people with intellectual disadvantages. Um, we ridiculed people for being from a different ethnic culture, for not speaking the same language, for being a different size, for being a different ability at basketball, for being a different ability at hockey or lacrosse, or being a different ability at reading, being a different ability at math. We ridicule people for a lot of things, and that was wrong. And I want to apologize sincerely to anyone who I ever ridiculed. I feel like I was more on the receiving than the giving end of that, but I was probably on the giving end of it more often than I ever would want to admit. And I want to apologize to all those people. I also want to let you know something. I didn't really want to do that. And now that I've grown up, and I did fucking grow up, I don't act like that anymore. And unfortunately, I owe flat earthers an apology. I should not make fun of your lack of science education. I should not make fun of it. I should just want to encourage you to learn. And when I'm making fun of you, please, if you're a non-belligerent flat earther or conspiracy theorist, I'm not making fun of you. I'm making fun of the assholes. I just want to take the piss out of you. And the same thing for religious folks. I'm calling out the people that are hate preachers and stuff like that. And I basically decided I will bully bullies, but I won't bully other people. And I really want to apologize to anyone that I've ever bullied in my life. And I want to say, if you're an adult and you're bullying people, where the fuck did you go wrong? Why are you still a bully? If you're over 16 and you're bullying people on the internet, at home, in real life, what the fuck is wrong with you? If you didn't learn any fucking manners in your life, I may not be able to help you. But I want you to take a long, hard look in the mirror. A long, hard look. And ask yourself, if you're a full-grown fucking adult and you're making fun of people and belittling them because they're different than you, where did you go wrong? And yes, I am going to belittle Greg Locke. Sorry, Greg, you're an asshole. I'm going to treat you like shit until you shape the fuck up because you're a big fucking bully. Guess what? I'm bigger. And when I get over this fucking illness, I'll be stronger again. I'm also smarter. I'm better at using words than you. And I may not have as much money, but Greg, you're an asshole. And you may not know it, but you treated my son like you're an asshole. So fuck you. Fuck you, Greg. Yes, I wrote a big long song about you, making fun of you, making fun of Kid Rock. He's also an asshole. I used his song. And I'm gonna redo that one somehow. I gotta figure that one out. I'm gonna redo it. I made fun of Kenneth Copeland. I made fun of Joel Osteen. I made fun of Ken Ham. I don't remember if I made fun of Ken Hovind, but all of you people, All the people I've mentioned are fucking assholes. So fuck you. That's all I have to say to you guys. You're bullies. You're wrong. And you bully people about the shit you're wrong about. Fuck off. But for the good people out there, and for the people that want to be good people, you can check out my essay. And I want to say, I want to be better than I've been. I want to be better than I've been. I want to be nice to people that deserve it. And I want people to be just kind. Just be fucking kind. You don't know what people are going through. You don't know what people are dealing with right now. I'm sure my neighbors see me come out to my driveway and shuffle around for an hour, taking 12 bolts out of my truck and left their home. And they say, what the fuck? You know, what the fuck is wrong with Al? Why can't he fucking move? He's a 48-year-old man. He looks like he's in okay shape. He's a really fat guy, but, you know, like, what the fuck? You know, what are we going to do? What's wrong with him? They don't know. Some of them might. My next door neighbors, my wife's probably talked to, maybe mentioned that I was really sick. They might have noticed that my truck hasn't moved in a month. I don't know. Yeah, they don't know what I'm going through. Because when I'm just standing there, I look like a reasonably healthy 48-year-old man. I don't know. Maybe I even look like a 47-year-old man. Have a look. Let me know. How old do I look? You know, the gray's coming into the beard. Remember this happened to my dad too. Before he passed, he was almost all gray and white before he passed. It's he had the red. He had his was mixed. His father was a redhead. His aunts were redheads, natural redheads. My hair wasn't red on top. I've always had red beard, red mustache. My uncle has it. My dad had it. We're sort of partial gingers here. Not beyond my years. Well, that's good to hear. That's good to hear, Crystal. You know what? I love hearing that I don't look like I'm older than I am. And I don't think I look younger than I am. My wife thinks the bags under my eyes are getting smaller. I think they haven't. But she thought spending a month sleeping has done me a lot of good. And thank you for posting my essay, PC. Appreciate it. And you know, I come on here and talk about what I'm going through, and you know what, everyone else is going through something. And you know what, Tori, you're right. Joel Osteen is an ass. And you know what, Joel Osteen, you know, at the end of the day, Joel looks at himself in the mirror and he's like, I don't know what he thinks about himself. He's taken a lot of money from a lot of people. And he's put it into stuff that doesn't help people. And for those of you that are religious, just want to ask you something. This is something I want you to ask yourself. When you see these guys that are preaching the gospel, and it's always guys, isn't it? Just about. There's a few women out there though. I forget the names. There's that cat one. She's kind of crazy. Brentley does some great shows on a couple of these women. Julie something. I probably got that wrong. And Kat Kerr, maybe. But there's a lot of these guys that are out there and just like, send me money. You know, there's just so many of them. There was the Jim and Tammy Faye Baker were big names in this. We had in Canada, we had 100 Huntley Street was a show that was on. I forget who the fuck was on that. And we had the 700 Club. There's the guy with the Crystal Palace. I forget that guy's name. That Kenneth Copeland guy. Man, if that guy hasn't sold his soul to somebody, I don't fucking know. Anyway, I don't want to make fun of the man's appearance, but he does look like a demon. And I believe that's what happens when you sell your soul. Thank you for putting Brentley up there. Brentley, if you don't know, is awesome. Looking at me and thinking how clever he is. Double finger guns with Jared. You're probably right. You're probably right. But let's think about in the US, Canada, and most of Europe. There's this gentleman that apparently he got sent down here by God. So we all know this story, and I'm not going to make this story seem super silly. But here we go. This is the way I understand it. God made the world, everything. Hey Dave, hey AR, and AR is getting grayer than occasional. Okay, well AR will have to deal with that in another stream about with the gray hair thing because I don't want Victoria to notice me going going down the ADHD trail. I'm gonna have to have another sip of coffee or something if I still got some. All right, I was gonna end this stream like an hour ago, but I just kept going. Um, okay, we're gonna talk about Tori's situation too. Hello, Dave. Hey, AR, Tori. I'm gonna get onto that in a second. Um, all right, here we go. Joel, who do you preach about? What do you say when you're talking to people? Who are you talking about? What would that guy do? What would Jesus do? Because the way I understand it is God made the whole universe and everything. He fucked it up a couple of times by putting humans in there. But when humans fucked up, he came up with a good plan. He killed them all, except for Noah and his family. And then Noah and his family repopulated the earth, and then they got fucked up because even Noah's offspring fucked it all up. But here's what we do. Okay. Okay, let me know, Victoria. Absolutely. See, I can't even see. I shouldn't. When I respond to the chat, it just takes me on a fucking rabbit trail, squirrel trail. DC talks about the squirrel trails. And I don't know what animal I'm chasing. Around here, it's rabbits and squirrels, and our dog loves to chase them. She catches stuff too. It's my daughter freaks out when she catches a vole. Anyway, here we go. Jesus was the final solution, right? Unless you're Muslim, in which case Muhammad was the final solution. But here we go. Let's just talk about Jesus because I don't know that much about Muhammad. I don't know much about Jesus, but here we go. So God's like, okay, I fucked it all up another time, but I got a solution. I am going to inseminate a virgin woman named Mary. And Mary and her husband are going to have to go, they're going to have to travel to Bethlehem to do a census. Jesus will be born in a manger. And even though Mary's only 12, it was a different time. It was a good time to get married because you're only going to live to 27th. So, live while you can. Jesus was born to a carpenter and a virgin mother. If you're Catholic, you know a lot about the Virgin Mother. If you're a different flavor of Christianity, she kind of takes a back seat to Jesus. But Jesus is this guy who's supposed to have been a pretty nice guy. Now, he wasn't always a nice guy, but sometimes he was a nice guy. When you ask yourself, what would Jesus do? You come back to Ray Stevens, who sang a song. Would Jesus wear a Rolex on his television show? That song has got to be at least 30 years old. I'm not 100% sure. You got to ask yourself, would Jesus fly in a jet plane? Would he? Yeah, God's a deadbeat dad. AR, that's, I get it. We shouldn't necessarily follow Jesus in all of his teachings. I think we got to ask ourselves this question, though, right? I want to ask this question. And I want to ask Joel, Ken Copeland. I know he got a good fucking deal on his last jet. He told that lady from the television program all about it. I've seen that video a few times. I don't care who you are. If you read the Bible and read about what Jesus did for the least among us, I think those words are used at least in one version of the Bible. Now, I do not speak Hebrew. I do not speak Aramaic. I certainly don't read those languages. And so I can't be certain. But a lot of and Greek, I also don't read ancient Greek. I don't even read modern Greek. I know what some of the letters are, and I know a few things mostly from science, from like Roman times had brought us Latin as a language, and Latin and Greek are used a lot to describe things in science. And so I've heard a lot of things with roots in both, but I can't read those fucking languages. Interestingly, my aunt is an ancient languages teacher, and my mother studied Latin in university. So I should know about this, and I've learned a few things by osmosis, but not much. And not genuine osmosis, just like from hanging around people that study languages. And I can only speak and read and write in English and French. That's all I got. So anyway, I can't be sure, but I believe it says the least among us, the way you treat the least among us, is an important idea about who you are and what Jesus wanted people to learn. Now, Jesus never lived, in my opinion. Jesus was never a thing. There might have been a person named Jesus who like went around and said they were the Messiah, or people claimed they were the Messiah, whatever. I don't fucking know. Yeah, Tori, I don't know if it was Nelly or not. I know it was a rapper or a basketball player or something. Hello, Sophie. I don't remember Sophie, but Sophie has brought us a full stop as a comment, which is, maybe that's indicating that I should stop saying what Jesus said. But I don't really get the gist of the Bible, as especially the New Testament, the stuff about Jesus. A lot of that really doesn't play out as go on TV, take in a lot of money, don't give it to the people that need it. That's not the tone I get from the Bible. Not the English versions. And hello and welcome, Sophie. Um and now we're taking guesses as to which rich person Kenneth Copeland bought his jet from. But I mean, the important thing is he got a good deal on it, right? And the important thing is that he can fly around and bring the gospel to people. That's what Ken Hovind says too, right? Ken Hovind is all about all the countries he's traveled to, how many people he's saved. They're saving souls, right? It's more important to save the souls than anything else. Does that sound right? Does that sound like what Jesus was mostly worried about? Because Jesus talked. I mean, there was a lot of things. There's like giving up everything you own. Like, and that's an interesting thing, right? Like the people that are closest to God give up everything, right? Like the nuns and the monks and there's monks from like all sorts of different, and probably nuns too, from all sorts of different religious denominations. And a lot of it has to do with like living a life of poverty and like taking a vow of celibacy and all this kind of stuff. You know what? If that works for you, if that's what makes your life fucking great, go ahead and fucking do that. Like fucking enjoy the fuck out of it. But you know what? Like I'm trying to make enough of a living to give my kids a reasonable home. My wife is working her ass off. We're just working to make our kids grow up in a safe, comfortable home with food on the table. We're trying to give them a chance to get a good education. We're trying to teach them how to be nice to people and how to be a person that can make a decent living in this world and help people. And that's what I want to do with my life. And I didn't get that from Jesus. I got that from my parents. And yeah, no, I get it. As not really like Jesus probably wouldn't live in a home like mine. In my home, I live in a very nice home. My wife and I are going to be paying for it for the next 100 years. So, it'll never be bought and paid for, but we'll do the best we can. Um, Mortgage and interest rates were not super kind to us the last time around. But here we go. I'm through this. If you think Jesus told you to buy a jet and fly around the world and live a life of luxury, while your parishioners gave you their money for doing just about fuck all, okay, that's not the message I got. It's not the message I got. Maybe it's a good message. I don't fucking know. Now, Tori put something up here that I did not know. Tori, I hope you're okay with me putting this out here because you've shared it. And I'm going to share it because Tori says, I don't have full use of my right arm and hand because it's an injury at birth. If you pay just enough attention, you hold my right hand a little bit funny for that reason. And I'm going to say, you don't have to explain anything more about that. You had an injury at birth. Your arm's a little funny, right? If somebody asks what's going on, they let you know. Well, I injured my right arm badly and needed to have a major surgery on it, and I had doctors suggest to me that I just live with it the way it is. And I don't know if you're right hand dominant, Tori, or not. You don't have to say that. You don't have to share anything more than what you shared. You have something that slows you down just a little bit. You've learned to live with it. And if you had it from birth, you probably don't even know that you've learned to live with it. It's just been part of how you live your life. And I had to learn to live without my right arm for about a month or so before the surgery. And then when I went and got the surgery, I had to learn to live with it for another, it was over 6 months before I had semi normal use of my arm. And so you know what? I get it. I get it. That's the thing. What is Crystal talking about? Read it. It's a trip. I don't know. I've missed this. This kid was bad. The infancy of Gospel of Thomas. Oh, okay. All right. All right. Okay. This is the Gospel of Thomas. Yes. This is the infancy gospel. Okay. I think I know what you're talking about. I don't think I've read that. I should go back and check that. Jesus being a bit of a little shit. Yeah, I've heard people mention this before, PC, and I think we should get out there and read it. See, knowing what it is that you're not into is good. And Tori identifies as a Christian, and so Tori, I'm not talking to you when I talk about my disbelief in Christianity. I disbelieve in it. I still don't believe in it. It's fine that you do believe in it. And the thing is, Tori is a super kind, nice person. She says she identifies as a Christian, but guess what? Tori is living the life as a nice person. She's doing the good things that Jesus said to do. And she's never, in any of my interactions with her, suggested that I should start living my life like her. And I guess I'm suggesting people live a life like me a little bit, in that I want people to be nice, and I want to be nice, and I want to work on that. Oh, Milwaukee Atheist. Yes, thank you for mentioning that, Nitty. I think that's great. A video or two on the Gospel of Thomas for the Atheist Sunday School. Okay. I think that's awesome. And Milwaukee Atheist, I haven't been there in a while. But yeah, they do some great stuff over there. And I'm sure PC would show the link to the channel. I don't know if PC is so amazing as to get over there and actually find an exact video, and but you can look for stuff like that. Maybe a bit of an ass. Okay. Yeah, you know what, Tori, I know you're. You know what? I don't think you're an ass ever, and I think what's important is that, holy shit, PC's all over it. Like PC as a mod, like I don't think PC could like there isn't a mod in the world that could compete with PC. There's maybe a few that are like getting close to on par, and I'm not trying to slag anybody, but like, I mean, if Pragmatic Crystal is modding, you're getting like the royal treatment, and like I don't have any money to pay her with. She's just amazing. And so sub to PC, give her the love, and maybe her channel will get monetized if it's not monetized already, and then she can make some money off of all the time she spends on YouTube being awesome. Yeah, you know what? Okay, so AR is awesome. I see AR all over the place. We never get a chance to talk too much, but I should get to know AR more, because they always have something interesting to say, beyond just the gray hair comment. I try to be right about things, but I always leave plenty of room to be wrong, because I've been wrong on a lot of stuff, but I'm ready to change. You know what? That is the essence of what I'm trying to say. It really is. I want to be right, and the things I say, I believe I'm right about the things I say, and I'm ready to be wrong. But even if somehow it turned out that I was 100% wrong about all the stuff that I was saying about like being like who you should be nice to and how you should treat people and shit like that, I'm probably not going to change my opinion about being nice to people. Even if someone were able to point out that, like, I'm absolutely wrong, that people of a certain ethnicity are terrible, terrible people, just by virtue of that fact. If someone's able to bring me some sort of like scientific test that just shows, like, everybody who was born in Antarctica is just an absolute asshole, and Antarctic people are just terrible, terrible people that you never want to spend any time with. Even if someone could prove that to me, I'd be like, you know what? Just be fucking nice to them anyway. Maybe it'll rub off on them, And I honestly have never met anybody from any background who wasn't a little bit of everything because people are human. And, because people will like, stereotyping goes both ways. Like, there's something you'll hear around here about, like, Newfies are just the fucking awesomest, salt of the earth people, and they give you the shirt off their back, and they'll let you stay in their home and whatever. That's pretty much true. I mean, it's very, very seldom that you meet a Newfie who's a total asshole, but there's a few of them out there. I've met a couple. I also know some Newfies that are some of each, and Newfies mostly are awesome people. Just as a general sort of like rule in their culture, they're awesome people, and I love going down there. Beautiful, beautiful province. It's amazing. It feels a little bit isolated, because you have to take a ferry to get there or an airplane or something. But it's a bit far away. It's a bit of a trip. It takes. I think I've mentioned this before. It takes almost as long to drive to Newfoundland as back as it does to BC and back, and Newfoundland's way closer by distance by like a pretty large amount. Probably, I think like maybe even over 1,000 kilometers of being closer. I can't remember. I have to go do the math. But the ferry trip and the delays and stuff like that are they just make it almost as long of a thing. It's like it's not something you can do super quick. I have done it in a shorter period of time because of reset times. And rest you can get on the ferry, but it's. Oh, so Tori, I've never met an unkind Latino. Now, that's interesting, Tori, because Tori, you're in the U.S. And I think a lot of people watching are in the U.S. I think I'm pretty positive that Victoria is a fellow Canadian. Um, and yeah, Newfoundland has a half-hour time zone different than everybody else. And Newfoundland also has Labrador, which I haven't been to, and I really want to go to. And a couple of drivers I work with went to Labrador last year and got to go on a pretty cool trip. I want to do that. And I also heard tell that there was going to be a trip to bring some equipment back from Nunavut, which I wanted to go on, but I know we didn't win the contract. But I heard tell of it, and I was like, oh, that sounds fucking awesome. Um, when I'm better, um, I've already put my hat in a ring before. I'm gonna put my hat in a ring again to do like if they come up with some crazy long trips, I'll go on like at least one next year if they come up with one. I don't want to be away from my family nonstop. I still want to be mostly local, regional. But oh yeah, Saskatoon. I've been to Saskatoon. You're going to have trouble staying awake by the time you get to Saskatchewan. I've driven. The last time I drove to BC was in 2022. Oh hey, welcome back, Commander. You got your internet connection back. Thank you for coming back. Um, yeah, I don't have trouble staying awake when I drive. I sleep my hours. I sleep my 10. Um I usually I sleep at least 9 of the 10. I try to get back on the road when I'm on a longer trip. I try to turn around in 10. If I have an appointment, I'll use the 8 and take my other time off later. But usually it's not a big problem. Um and a lot of the overnight trips I do are just 1 or 2 nights on the road because it's usually to Northern Ontario or Eastern Ontario or Quebec. Um, and when it's a longer trip, we just do what we gotta do. But it takes as long to go to Northern Ontario and back for sure as it does to go to the East Coast and back, and not to Newfoundland. Newfoundland adds a bit of time. But you go to Manitoba border is basically the same as driving to the East Coast. Um, One of your neighbors for a while was the most adorable little Latino family, and they are just wonderful. They were forever mowing my backyard for me when they lived next to me once they even. Oh, there's more. There's more coming. So Tori's talking about these lovely Latino people. Now, so Latino people are not they're not a type of person that you never meet in Canada, but they are in much smaller numbers comparatively to other ethnic groups. Um, and Canada just has smaller numbers in general, but there's not as many people from Latin America coming here. Um, the ones I have met all seem great. You have to say hi in person before you move back to VA. Yeah, Commander, we gotta like meet up somewhere. Because I think you're still coming into Buffalo and stuff some of the time. I can't remember. Um, but yeah, Commander's also a trucker. So they're on the road. I think I think you travel a lot across um New York and is it New York, Pennsylvania? I think New York, Pennsylvania is where I hear you talking about going. I could have that mixed up because we also have some other truckers in the community, um, like Robin, who I mentioned earlier, and Ember. I also mentioned also a trucker. Got some great ones. Oh, hey, Auntie Lushy is here. Hey, Jessica, how are you doing? Good to see you here. Um, yeah, Auntie Lushy, not a content um maker on her own channel, but a content contributor on DC's channel. And if you're into watching ladies laugh at MLM, and recently Jessica has been doing with Jen and Wendy, um what am I gonna call it? Sort of ancient ads for like Avon and other like sort of MLM and MLM adjacent things. And they do a show called Beat the Gummy, which is not about violence towards gummy bears. I believe it has something to do with using legal cannabinoid substances in candy form. I hope I have that right. Jessica, if I got that wrong, let me know. Tori probably can also tell me because I think Tori's a fan. I don't hang out there all the time. I try to go in and say hi. I hang around for a bit. It's often on at a time where I'm getting ready for bed, and going to sleep when I'm in my normal state. And I've been a little bit more able to participate being ill, but I got to get back on a normal schedule because my family's getting back to a normal schedule. So, Commander says New York, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Maryland, New Jersey, and Ohio. That's a pretty good. And you know what? Almost all of those places, well, Connecticut and Maryland, no. And New Jersey is a little bit down, but um, New York and Pennsylvania and Ohio are all pretty close to where I live and work in Ontario. So yeah. Try to have fun, more casual stream. Yeah. I think all this stuff is casual, but sometimes you get into like the more serious. DC gets into some of the serious stuff, and Jessica's a lot of fun. She brings a lot of levity, and I hope nobody minds me saying that Jessica used to sell um implements of self gratification in an MLM she was in and got out of and got into the anti MLM thing um, through that, and it leads to a lot of great fun times when they're talking about those places, and not just self gratification. It's called Say Hello to DC. Crystal, it's DC is DEECEE, and the other two channels that participate, Wendy and Jen, they're linked at DC's. So if you find DC's, all the other ones will come out of it, and DC shows those channels all the time. Pure romance, yeah, that's what it's called. Yeah, and not just self gratification, but partner gratification too. Some of the videos are cringy, and some of them are funny, and some of them are both cringy and funny at the same time. I remember the one where they had like some kind of a focus group type thing pretending to be a thing, or maybe it was a real sales call or whatever, but it was a woman teaching how to sell these products. And you know what? This is and Brentley sells this stuff on his channel, right? He's got Adam and Eve. And if you want to be gratified by something you bought off the internet, then you should go to adamandeve.com if you're in the US. I actually tried. I was looking for something. I tried to go to Adam and Eve, and it doesn't work for Canadian customers. Um, and they don't pay me anything, but I will say online, if you want to do online purchasing rather than in person, there's a place in Canada called Pink Cherry. And they had what I needed and I got it. And yeah, put in promo code Brentley if you're going to adamandeve.com because Brentley's awesome, and let's get him some money. And it's a fake party. Oh, it's the fake party. Okay. Oh, your former upline. Okay, so you sort of knew the person, Jessica. So I said I'd talk about MLMs, and now that Jessica's here and Tori's here, and was another MLM person here? I can't remember. Um, I don't know. Okay, so I'm gonna explain what MLMs are. I think people know what they are. It's a multi-level marketing. Um, and I'm gonna explain how I got there. And AR used a Brentley code, right? So I'm not saying he got his butt some stuff, but that's what Brentley says. But not everything goes in your butt. The important thing to remember: not everything goes in your butt. Okay, so Jessica knew about this. Okay, heard great things about from his TikTok sex educators always ragging on pure romance. You've heard not great things that always come in butt hurt in the comments. Well, Aunt Jer, so maybe Aunt Jer knows a bit more about the MLM than I do. So, Say Hello to DC is something that I came across. It was recommended to me, and I realized. So, I talked about intersectionality. I'm going to talk about it for. I'm going to wrap this up because I've been going on for over 2 hours and I'm losing my voice again. You remember when I found DC? Yeah, you probably do. It's like, how the fuck did I get here? And then and DC did a channel, or she did a few shows on the TikTok tunnel lady, and DC's agreed. I don't know if she's serious or not, but DC's agreed to do a TikTok tunnel lady video with me, and I'll explain why in a second. But the MLM thing that DC goes on about, and you go check out her channel, you'll see what it is. But these companies are based on, it's basically a pyramid scheme. The products they sell are not the product. The product is signing people up. And so what happens is the structure of it is exactly like a pyramid scheme. You come, you spend a bunch of money and buy a bunch of stuff that's worth a lot less than the money you pay in, and the money you pay in gets split up amongst a bunch of people that are up the pyramid. And they need new salespeople to come in. And as I've said before, it's strange. It's strange that I come to this place, and then I realize, you know what? It's just like cults and religions, and they are very culty, these places. They tell people the same shit. And I know not all churches and religious places are like cults. Not all of them treat you like that. Like, they don't separate you from your family and stuff necessarily. But my first involvement in this came from meeting people that were into Scientology in real life, and then realizing this was fucked. And then it got me into researching Scientology, other cults, and then other religions. And I've said this story a bunch of times, but the cult like atmosphere of these places, including, like, I'd say, like the flat earth thing, the anti-science thing, all of that leads into cult like behavior too. They separate people from the rest of their family. And yes, Aunt Cher, you are 100% correct. This is fucking hilarious. This is fucking hilarious. And I'm also going to if I can get here, get in here. I also want to make I just want to make Tori, because she's such a great supporter in AR. I'm making them moderators as just because they always show up, and I need more mods. So hopefully that worked. I appreciate the support. So this MLM thing separates you from your money, which is just like religion, and they don't give you anything back, which is just like religion. You need to be better on education. So I worked for Steve Hassan for a few months. Know a lot. Okay, you know what, Jessica? You need to get DC to put you on to talk about that, and I would have you on to talk about it, but I don't have the audience she has, and DC should just do it. Put that bug in DC's ear, because that sounds awesome. So yeah, no, it's so weird to come in and intersect with these folks, um, and see the parallels. So, like, as soon as I got into listening to this MLM stuff, I was like, holy shit, I've heard of this before. And then I realized, well, my uncle sold for Amway and my mom sold for Avon. Now, my mom sold for Avon. I guess they weren't an MLM back then. It was a little different. But here's the thing. These companies that are selling soap or candles or those weird wax things, or what's that called? Scentsy. And we had a neighbor that was selling Scentsy, and we bought a bunch of Scentsy stuff from her, like, because it's like, yeah, she's our neighbor and she needs to make some money. So yeah, we'll take some of these. But, like, we used them for a year, and then we ran out of wax, and we moved away from where that neighbor was, and we haven't fucking used them since. I think one of them still plugged in the fucking wall with no fucking wax in it. I think we just forgot they were there like 6 years ago. Um, and you know what, PC, you can love Sensi, but their sales model is not fun for people. And I'm not saying people don't enjoy having like nose transing whatever. Um yeah, transphobe answer, that doesn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me. And none of this stuff. And you know what? Like the having your home smell nice is that's fucking great. It's it's a lot to handle, and also we have a dog, so having those things plugged in and getting knocked around is like fucking crazy. And Tori, I appreciate it. And you know what? Like I'm sometimes when I give out the wrenches. Oh, good, you're still here, Commander. Um Um, and Commander, if I think we already showed Commander's show, but Commander talks about a lot of these fucking crazy people. Commander's show is usually on Saturday afternoons, I think. And it always hits when I'm busy with my family. I haven't been on in months. I'm gonna try to get back on there and hang out and have fun. Um, yeah. Oh, okay. You wouldn't talk. It wasn't that interesting. Okay, but Jessica, maybe you should just get the guy out there as a topic, even if you don't have a lot to say on it. Um, Trying to try reed diffusers. Oh yeah, I think, Antjer, I think I've used stuff like that when my wife and I were married before we had kids. I think we got rid of stuff like that when we had the kids. Our dog never got to them. Our old dog didn't. But yeah, thanks for shilling Commander's channel here. It's this one right here. I'm sometimes on as a guest, but it's been a long time. And Commander and I often are hanging out together at Slim's channel. It's funny, like Slim's channel is funny though, because there's always everybody's talking about stuff and commenting on stuff. We don't get a chance to talk to each other enough. So we end up doing that in Discord. And I have Discord. Um, a lot of people have Discord channels, and Deep State's got a pretty good one. Slim's got a good one. So these are places to hang out and chat with people if you're not already there. DC's got a great Discord, which I haven't been active in until recently. I've tried to get over there. A wax melt thing at my house. I usually get my. Oh, okay. So you can get the fillers from Tori's saying get them from Walmart or Target. We don't have Target up here anymore. Walmart we do. I bet it's there. Um, and like these reed things, I'm assuming they're the things where you put the sticks in like a little oil pot, and then it's supposed to sort of climb up. It's like, what do you call that? Capillary action pulls it up the little tubes, and then the air just sort of gets around. Yeah, you got to wrench AR. I'm giving it to people that I know and trust, and and that hang out a lot, because I know if I'm here, they're often here, and I appreciate that. I really love it when people get there. Oh, Jessica, I'm putting this up here. Um, what I should do is go back to school and study cults and expand the bite model. That sounds like work. It does sound like work, but you know what? Great point though, Jessica, because um, and Jessica often points out the little intricacies. She's got these great insights when she's talking about the MLMs. She remembers the things that people said and did, and what she was told to say and do when she was selling the stuff. And yeah, this intersectionality is great. Um, oh, and Sumami is, and what she's saying here is Sumami is a sex worker. I think that's a fair way to put it. And I love Sumami, and I would frequent her wares, but she's a friend of mine, and I feel like that would be weird. But if you're not friends with Sumami, or you are and you enjoy that, you should check out Sumami's stuff, um, and enjoy. And Sumami's a great person, so I think if you're into it and Sumami's selling it and everybody's having a good time and it's consensual, just fucking go over and check out Sumami. Because even though I can't quite figure out how to make that work for myself, it doesn't mean I don't support the industry or the people that work in it. I do. So please please check out Sumami. And Sumami also has a YouTube channel and posts all sorts of cool commentary and stuff. Sometimes it's just comments about what's going on in her life. It's easier to sell stuff to on Snapchat. Okay, I didn't know about Snapchat. Being I didn't know you could sell on Snapchat. That's interesting. I thought Snapchat was more like, sort of WhatsApp, like just a communication thing. Um, I kind of got the impression that the high school kids were using it to do sextings because it disappears or something. And that's a bit of a problem for age of pictorials or whatever. It sounds like a whole fucking thing. I'm glad it didn't exist when I was a kid, I can tell you. Because it sounds super fucking, difficult. Trying to close easier to sell stuff, okay. Yeah, and OnlyFans, refuse to use you know what? I hear this a lot, and this came up yesterday. Because of course, I was talking about my fellowship about whether Twitter is a modality to share information on social media. And I get it. I don't know if I'd pay money to do stuff on Twitter, but I think like, if you're sharing information and a lot of people are on Twitter, it's their main thing. I don't know. Like I think it'll die eventually, but I'm not sure. Um Cloud storage and drop a link to okay. So Sumami, this is interesting. Sumami, and this is great. And so, a lot of people have like different views on sex work, but my view is um I think everybody has sexuality to some degree, and some people have little or none in terms of their libido or whatever, and those people probably aren't going to be clients. Um, but yeah, I think it's important that we support sex workers, especially ones who aren't being exploited. Which is I would like to point out that um, some sex work practices are exploitive and very terrible and lead to terrible criminal activity where people are being forced to do things that they don't want to do. But I think if somebody's working for themselves, making their own money, that's really cool. Um, ah, and Sumami's pointing something out here. So, here I am saying about like being able to support yourself and make your own money, and they take 20% and then hold up funds and stuff. Like, I don't know whether OnlyFans is the right place to do this or not, but hey, it is what it is. Now, I'll also say if Sumami's comfortable, and she says it's comfortable, I'm assuming comfortable with the work and comfortable with the income, right? Like, and you know what? I don't think that people should be as hard on the industry as they are because I think a lot of people get hard ons from the industry. And and yeah, and this is important. You want to be comfortable and comfortable with your income, comfortable with your vocation, whatever it is. And I think Samami and I have had conversations or comment conversations where she's misunderstood what I said. It's an important industry. It brings to people things that they need for their own gratification. And it can do it in a way that's safe and reasonable for all parties involved. And it's certainly not something that I don't partake in at all. I do a little bit, and I think that it's important that it exists. You know, and I want people to feel comfortable with it if they want to be involved in it and not try to overregulate what people are doing. I do not want children to be hurt, and I do not want adults to be hurt or what's the word they use? Human trafficking is something that intersects with this kind of thing. It shouldn't. It shouldn't. If people want to make their living um, in this way, I think it's absolutely wonderful that they do. It's an industry that exists. It's very popular. It's a money making industry. People are in it because it makes money. And I just wish that the workers made their money and kept it. And that being said, I sell my body and my skills to my employer. Um, and there's just very little sexuality involved, but I do drag hose chained to my deck all over the place. So, and if you don't know, a hoe is an excavator. And Tsunami, I don't think Tsunami is looking crusty at all. Um, but sometimes she gets a little crusty when she has trouble with The Sims. I saw a comment about that. So anyway, people agree and disagree about this industry, which is the sex work industry. But it's always going to go. I drag those hoes. I do have to deal with hoses. Yeah, I would watch a show where Tsunami talks about ethical pornography. That would be a great show. And Jared, that would be a fantastic show. I actually think it would be great to have like a few people talk about it. And I have seen I've seen some shorts where I can't remember the name of the performer, but there's a woman who is a fairly long performer in I think just straight up adult entertainment, who talks about her time there. Um, yeah, you understand legalization so around since biblical times. Jessica, I think you're only off by thousands of years in that I think it's been around since long before biblical times, but it's certainly referenced in the Bible enough to know it's no older than or it's no newer than that. That's for sure. Yeah. And this would like this is it, right? Better legalization, better yeah. Sorry, I clicked the wrong one. Better regulation, health standards, insurance, legalization, unionization. Like this is the kind of stuff. Like um, whether it's direct contact or over the internet or in old media formats that were popular, like videos, DVDs, magazines, etc. Like that's sort of what I remember from my younger years. That was the way it was translated, and that's changed a lot. The internet's changed it, and there's a lot of crazy shit that goes with that. And I think on the internet, it's not a new industry, but I think there's a lot of sort of newer disruptors to the industry, things like the OnlyFans and whatever. And as Sumami pointed out, 20% is a lot to lose off the top, right? And I think people that are monetized on YouTube lose a fair chunk, right? We're drawing porn on rock faces and pottery shards before paper and video for. Yeah, well, hey Sumami, um, what's the old term? Any port in a storm? That might be a little silly of a way to put it. That's not quite right, but yeah, you know what? I mean, the thing is, and this show isn't about. Oh, I didn't click this right. This show isn't about that. Generally speaking, I don't usually get into talking about sex work. I don't usually get into talking about sex in general. I do talk about sexuality and gender expression and stuff like that, just because it seems to intersect with some of the other things I talk about. A lot of it has to do with anti-science people looking for reasons to treat people like shit, and it's always you pick a small group of people and you shit on them. It's fucked. Um, but yeah, you know what? I'll talk about. I've said this many times before. I have a vagina fetish. I'm a cis male. I'm really into having sex with. At this point in my life, it's my wife. But my sexual arousal comes from female bodies that are clad at various levels. That's a thing for me. It's a thing for lots of people, and lots of people are sexually aroused by other things, and that's always existed. That's not going to change. It's part of who people are as humans. And the reason I bring it up isn't to talk about my particular proclivities, because I see like we're losing eyeballs by the nanosecond here as I bring it up because my sexuality isn't important. Um, and holy fuck, um, oh my, Sumami's got something. something to say, right? Get gas in your Jeep and then maybe grab some lunch. Field trip. All right, Tori. Well, I don't know if I can go on for the entire field trip because I can tell I hear my voice fading away. But yeah, Tori, thank you for sticking with us in the Jeep. You'll have to tell us about your Jeep, Tori. I'm a bit of a fan of the style. I'm not sure if I'm a fan of sitting in one and driving it because I've never really been anywhere in one. I do have a cousin with one who thinks it's the bee's knees, and she's always just been one. Sumami has a butt booty naked sim husband. Um, he forgot to use a mod to remove the sensor bar. Sim cheeks. Okay, I don't know Sumami. I don't know about the Sims, Sumami, but I know Sumami is a great. Um, is it fair to call you Sumami a what the fuck was the word I was looking for? A connoisseur of the video game. Because I don't remember a conversation with Sumami that was of any length that didn't involve referring to the video game she's playing at the moment, and she's hardcore on the video games, as far as I know, or she like is just a thing. Oh, here we go. Look, Jessica, also a Jeep family. Husband has the Wrangler, and you got the Grand Cherokee all decked out. I'm assuming Jessica's Grand Cherokee is like one of those mud bogging things. She's got the big super swamper tires wrapped around there. And what other ridiculous assumptions should we have about Auntie Lushy's you got the V8. I would, if it was me, I'd put a diesel in, but not the diesel that came with it. Air suspension. All right, have you got the Kelderman air ride? Jessica, I want to, I hope you can share a picture over on DC's DC or something. I don't know if you do stuff like that. Oh, is the engine snorkeled? Yeah, Jared, do you have your engine snorkeled? I don't remember if Aunt Jared has a vehicle. 2017 Renegade, 4-wheel drive, like it. Okay, stepped out as a Jeep, turned into a monster. Okay, I mean, like Jeeps are cool. Jeeps have always been cool. They have a really cool look. One of my favorite Hot Wheels dinky car things as a kid was a Jeep that had. It was one of the first ones I ever got that had the real rubber tires instead of the plastic molded ones, and it was a special thing that came out with the real rubber tires, and it had molded in the back of the Jeep. It had like a little pickup bed thing with the two little jump seats, and it had tools like molded into the bed and stuff. It was cool. I may still have it. I don't know. I kept some of them, and my son was into cars for a long time. The Hot Wheels cars, and also like the Cars set from the movie. We have a lot of those, and he also got a whole bunch of monster trucks when he was a kid. You give me a car to your nephew, you can't drive it anymore. I'm sorry to hear you can't drive it anymore, Ansher. But is the car you're giving to your nephew snorkeled? That's the real question. And Ansher, am I wrong? Do you live in the Pacific Northwest where there's probably like a lot of great off-roading opportunities? I would think. And Tori doesn't know what she's eating for lunch, but she's going out to get it, right? Wrangler has mud tires, just stock tires. Okay. All right, so the Cherokee is a little less decked out than the Wrangler, but mud tires, yeah. And yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Helping out your nephew is great. And I got to do something with this. Your sister and former boss to Wrangler, they hated them. Okay. So the Wrangler is and there's also the Wrangler Limited, I think is the 4-door one. Like I would consider that. So Sumami, the snorkel is a tube that you put into the air intake of the engine because if water gets into the engine, it won't work. So yeah, so in the off-roading world, you don't want the air intake on your engine, which is usually going to be probably somewhere in the top of it might be within the first 1 or 2 inches of like the underside of the hood, and the bottom of it, depending on the size of the engine, is going to be sort of within 8 to 10 inches of that. But you can imagine if your air intake is anywhere sort of just above your tires and you're going off-roading, and you're really going off-roading and getting like submerged in water, you need a snorkel so that you can get the fresh air into that. Also in Australia, they use it for the water, but also like big trucks use it. The reason for that, my understanding, is they snorkel even big trucks like way up in the air even though they might not ever afford anything that would hit. It actually is to keep the dust from going into the engine. So they're picking up that air. The disadvantage to snorkeling is that the heat rises, so the air going in is hotter, and colder air gives you more horsepower. So that's the only reason not to snorkel. And for regular driving on paved roads in cities and suburban areas, and even most rural roads, you don't need one. Not for real roads. Um, okay, and Andrew, yeah, Pacific Northwest hiking and off-roading, yes, indeed. You'd have a pickup truck, miss new one you had ages ago. So I'm getting rid of my pickup truck, Tori. I'm thinking about it. You love exploring the Chetco. The Chetco. I don't know what the Chetco is. It sounds awesome. If I ever make it out that way again, I'm gonna go out there. The mossy forest. Yeah. So I haven't been to the Pacific Northwest of the US, but I've been to BC a number of times, and the last time I went, I drove down pretty close to the Washington border, and I mean the Rocky Mountain country is cool. Alberta and BC have cool Rocky Mountains. There's also like the coastal mountains are cool, um, and then in Washington and Oregon and all the other mountain states, I'm sure it's cool. I've been to Colorado, and I've been to the Southwest. It also has its own set of cool mountains. There's just a lot of cool stuff out west in terms of like geography and geographic features. Just great big expanses of space with all sorts of cool rock features and yeah, it's like and fungi and okay, so this is like the mosses and lichens and stuff here that PC's talking about. This is something awesome that I've noticed is like when I was in Victoria, it's like a rainforest that you drive through, and I drove a couple of different places. My sister went to school there. Victoria's the island. Vancouver Island is just off the coast of BC. It's part of BC, and their seat of government is there in Victoria, is the capital of British Columbia. And it's a short ferry ride from Vancouver area, and Nanaimo is a big on Vancouver Island. And it looks like my video is like getting all like fucking buffered and shit. I don't know if that's a really good connection, but it's gotten all fucked up now. I don't know if you guys are getting that or not. Please let me know. Please. I don't know if I'm still connected. I'm gonna try. What do you add myself to the stage? There is better now. I don't know. It seems kind of fucked up. Anyway, sorry about buffering and stuff. I don't know if you guys saw that. It did glitch. Okay, AR confirmed. Okay, it's still glitching a little bit. I don't know what that's from. It seems like it's a little better now. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think it's still doing it. I have fiber connection now, which we never thought we'd get. Like we fought. We were here. We've lived in this area for 19 years. We just passed. We moved in August, so we just passed 19 years here. We spent 1 year living in while we built this house because we rebuilt the house that was on the property. And I thought we'd never get like decent internet. When we moved in, we had DSL over a really poor voice line. It didn't have enough bandwidth, so it was like having dial up in the old days in the 90s, but with a DSL style modem. And then we tried all sorts of different things. We had a satellite antenna thing for a number of years that worked better than anything we'd ever had before. And then they came up with fiber, and we switched. And it's with the fairly high package, it's only $20 more a month than the satellite thing to have fiber to the house. And the speeds are like, oh man, it's orders of magnitude faster. I think it might be something like 25 times faster. And yeah, the Chrome is. Oh yeah, I have. This is called the blue. Oh, it's not. Okay, hold on. I don't know if I can. This is called the Blue Snowball. Um, and there it is. Yeah, the internet's dragging me off the stage with a hook. Yeah, Aunt Jer. I think like if Aunt Jer had a hook, she'd get me out of there. But we don't want Tori to lose the the conversation in the community while she's driving out to get lunch, and we got to find out what she's getting, right? But yeah, I got this Chrome thing called the Blue Snowball. There were two microphones with basically the same ratings, and let me know if you like the audio from this, because I find when I hear my audio, if like I go listen to Slim Stream when I'm on the road, my audio sounds really tinny and terrible. And I think like with this one, it's better. It's a little stronger, a little bit more close to my voice. What I find really interesting is like no one would say this from my internet performances, but in person, people come up to me all the time and say, "You have a great voice. You should be on the radio." Like just out of nowhere, people just say this to me because when I'm not sick, I have this sort of really loud, booming, deep voice, and I wonder if the audio comes out here or not. And the air is really nice here up in the Pacific Northwest. I would say this is an important point. I love that West Coast air. Um, and I love going to the West Coast to visit. I would move there permanently if the kids were moved out of the house. But my wife and I both have family in Ontario that we're fairly close with. So I don't know. I don't know if it'd be the right move for us, but we've talked about it because the cost of living's there. And Tori's saying, very rural, right at the corner of two counties and two townships. The winter was great. If four-wheel drive is a necessity rather than a luxury. So, Tori, that's where I live. I live literally at the corner of um three counties, I guess, the way American terminology would work with Canadian or Ontario terminology. But also, it's five different things at this intersection because there's also the split up of a couple of municipalities, where one township is serviced by like there's a town and a township that are part of the same overall group, but two separate groups. It's a little fucked up. Um, but yeah, do I have that radio voice? I'm not sure that I do. I'm no Seth Andrews, that's for sure. But when my voice is in its full glory, it seems to be pretty loud. And the other thing is when I go to medical conferences, um, everyone laughs about me not needing a microphone to address an entire room full of people because my voice is really loud. And last spring, I was at a conference, and there was a lady there who I met when I got off the bus. She came over and introduced herself. Apparently, everyone on the bus heard my conversation with a friend of mine who I knew from previous conferences and works at the same organization that I volunteer with. And she and I had a great conversation. I learned a lot about her. But apparently, everyone on the bus, they didn't hear her side of the story, but they heard mine. So apparently, I'm really loud. And then I went to go watch the presentation that woman was doing that introduced and said I didn't need to introduce myself because she knew the whole story, and she wrote a book. And I should show her book. I just can't remember her name right now. It's Sandra something. I'll look her up and I will share her. Um, you know what I'll do is she was gonna give me her book, and I'm gonna look that up. And this is AR is asking a great question, and I've heard this. And AR is asking a question that parishes, which is to me a parish is like a religious group. Oh, you got to go, Victoria. It was great to have you. Work is such a pain in the ass or a pain in the dick. Is that what we say now? Pain in the dick. All right. Well, enjoy work. I don't know what Victoria does, but hopefully it's fun. My job's kind of fun most of the time, and then sometimes it's a pain in the something. Um, 15 minutes to get to the next town over before you grow up. She's not that bad. Call the police. City A responds. School district. City B. Yeah. So, Aunt Chair, I get how this works, and I have so I've had two occasions where I was the first one calling 911. One where my neighbor's garage exploded, and the other one where my neighbor's house caught fire. Um, and it's really it's annoying because you end up spending the first 3 minutes explaining who they should send, and after arguing with them about where we should be, I'm just like, It's in this place, send the closest fucking person. The place is on fucking fire." It's like, "You guys can figure it out later." Anyway, the last fire was so big that, 3 different fire departments showed up anyway, because they needed that kind of support. One before that, my neighbor was badly hurt, and so was his brother, and, a paramedic that was driving home from work actually stopped, and helped, which was great because he knew exactly what to do. I have first aid training and stuff. I knew roughly what to do, and I also the only thing I was able to come up with that was helpful was turning off the propane to their house and garage. Yeah, if you call 911 to ask what side of the street you live on, Jared, I get that, and you know what? I'm like, I don't care. Like, it's not where I live. It's like, where do we get you? Um, like, get somebody over here. And the thing is, I literally tell people I live halfway between town A and town B, and I really do. Like, it's a toss up which one you go to. We usually go to town A, if we need groceries quick because they have a bigger grocery store, but we often go to the other one because it's on our way to other places we go. And if we're doing errands, like our kids' activities are sort of west of the house usually, and but the town we technically are part of because we're the last house in the township or the municipality, is in the other direction, and we often go that way for other things. But it's just more convenient to go to a bigger city with more stuff. And there is a little city that we live close to that just makes more sense for us. But yeah, it's literally a toss up which one you go to, and the fire departments for each one are equidistant. So it's really just who's got a truck ready to roll, send it. And I hope nothing else burns down in my neighborhood, but it's just unfortunate shit happens every once in a while. And you know what? Check your smoke detectors. You can't be careful enough. Like, you think this stuff doesn't happen. I have personally I've personally been on site of those two plus one at a job site I was working at, a building caught fire too. And I was there. I was asleep at another place in the facility, and I woke up. And what surprised me the most is I heard the sirens coming because a passerby saw the smoke. I did not hear the fire because it wasn't that far away. It was like 3 buildings over. But you can't, like, you think you can hear like a roaring fire from inside a closed building. You can't. You A fire is a very silent thing. You don't have like you because you think of like a big bonfire going, a fire. If you like behind closed doors, fire is so fucking quiet. It is eerie because I was the only living person on the property when this happened. It's mind blowing. So, fire safety super important. I didn't come on here to talk about fire safety, but I will. I also my father's career in construction included doing insurance restoration for a number of years because that's what his family did. Um, and I'm the fourth generation contractor, and so I will bring up, and I'm gonna end on this note. Um, and hopefully people enjoy this. Tori and Auntie Lushy Jessica will remember this. When I was talking in the streams that DC did about TikTok Tunnel Lady, and we're gonna go revisit her. I hope, and I hope DC's got time to come and do it with me, or I'll do it with her and restream or something. But I spent 28 years working in commercial construction, and I know a lot about how to build things. I know a lot about how things are built and should be built, and I can tell you that the TikTok Tunnel Lady, she learned a lot. I mean, I'm impressed by how much she taught herself and learned, but she learned enough to be very fucking dangerous and not enough to get it done right. And I will hopefully do a stream with DC where we talk about this. I think DC uh, does not claim to have a lot of experience. I'm pretty sure DC's I think it's her father is a woodworker, a cabinet maker, or something like that. I know she shared stuff about that, and I know she also shared that she helps with stuff like that. So I think DC is a person who's mechanically inclined with not the same amount of life experience dealing with construction as I have. And my experience is it's where I have the greatest depth of knowledge. Like I literally have built multiple buildings from scratch. I've redone the interiors of multiple buildings, and I've dealt with everything from building a shed, to building offices in the most high-end towers in downtown Toronto, which is a big city in Canada. If you've never heard of it, we're kind of a backwater country, but we do have some really big cities. And I've worked in some of the biggest cities. I've worked in most of the biggest cities in Ontario, doing construction work, and I've worked in rural areas. I've worked for commercial office towers. I've worked for large scale retail, small scale retail. I've worked in manufacturing, warehousing. Um, what else have I? Medical. I've dealt with medical. I've dealt with hospitals. I've dealt with small medical practices. I've dealt with dentistry and other sort of related things. Um, I don't know what other types of buildings, resorts and hospitality. I've built and worked on stuff in all of those. Oh, restaurants too. Speaking of McDonald's, I've also worked in restaurant construction, um, and bars. Um, just just about everything you can think of where money is made, I've worked in. And so my experience with complex multi-level buildings that have large foundations with parking garages under them, and complicated systems of mechanical HVAC and electrical and stuff like that, right down to just a little shack. I've dealt with all of it. I've dealt with excavation and terraforming, geotechnical work. I've dealt with wells. I've dealt with rural wastewater. I've dealt with city wastewater. And basically, as a general contractor, I had experience with plumbing, electrical, site work, forming, drywall, finishing, things like paints, coatings, wall coverings, um, T-bar ceiling systems, high-end ceiling systems, high-end woodwork, wood-clad things, like just like millwork, like you wouldn't believe, like enough to sink a ship. Like stone floor systems, wood floor systems onto concrete, things that like just would blow your mind about how much work goes into them. Um, and um, and they're usually done on 5-year leases and get ripped out after people spend hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars on stuff like this. It's pretty wild. Um, and all of that is to say, when a lady starts using a tiny little Kango hammer that's meant for cleaning mortar off of a tile renovation to cut through a stone wall behind her block foundation, you're dealing with someone who doesn't know what they're doing. And PC, oh, it's just a frame you and your husband built it together. Just a frame that you and your husband built together. Do you, PC? Do you mean it's an A-frame house, like A-frame like this, or do you mean it was something that you had framed and then built afterwards with your husband? I'm just not sure. And also, I wonder in Louisiana, I wonder if basements probably aren't a thing, right? Okay, so PC, maybe you'll describe that further. I'm interested in that. And I've never built an A-frame building, but I know people that have just a frame. Okay, so you had the frame, and then you clad the inside, interior, exterior, and fitted out yourself. So like the no basement. Yeah, I would a lot of coastal, especially East Coast coastal, never have basements. I think yeah, floods way too much. Yeah, that totally makes sense. And I know in the East Coast of Canada, a lot of buildings, if they're really close to the ocean, they'll be on stilts. If they're further inland, they're more like that. Oh, you live in a trailer. Okay. I'm confused about that. Do you mean like a mobile home, or do you mean like an RV? Um, because just a frame with no wall. Okay, got it, got it. Okay, so like a professional framing crew came out and framed it, and then you just put everything together. Like you added everything to make it a home. It was just sticks up in the air. Oh, mobile home. Okay. Yeah, okay. Because to me, a mobile home is different from a trailer in that Like one you could literally hook your truck up to and leave tomorrow is like a trailer or an RV. Whereas a mobile home is like, it's probably like, got a garden around it and is there. Okay, it's existing frame. Okay. Yeah, one job I did was actually where a mobile home existed. It was pulled out, but the frame was reused, and for legal purposes, we built basically a mobile home back on a mobile home frame, um, so that it could be pulled out later. And also, like, if, legally, it had to be something that was on a frame that could be moved, for the reason that it couldn't be a non-movable building on the property. Um, so it was an interesting job, because it had to be built to the dimensions that can be pulled out as a mobile home. I've moved mobile homes as a trucker, um, a few different ones, and I did it when I was in construction. I did some trucking for people on the side, because I was a commercial trucker before I became a full time commercial trucker. And I did that one time. You live behind a restaurant. Okay, what is this here, Tori? You're telling this great story. I live behind a restaurant bar that featured on the Bar Rescue. Sometime later, come to find it, the whole thing was so shoddily done. That several years later, there's more to this. There's more to the story. There's more to the story, and then I'm gonna end this like Hammy Hamster, because I really don't think my voice has anything left in it. But it's interesting. It's interesting how many different places people live. And while Tori's typing out the rest of her story, I'll just say the house that my wife and I moved into was built in the 1870s, and it was falling apart. We put a lot of money and time into it over a number of years. So we lived in it for over 12 years. And we put work into it when we first moved in, and then we dealt with it. We had both of our children living in that old home, and things were falling apart again. And we ended up having a flood, and we had already decided to rebuild. And I looked at the numbers, and being a professional contractor, we actually hired another company to build the house because I was very busy building a resort at the time. But that's another story. But what I'll say is, it was the right choice for us to do it. Oh well, and then when it was on, oh, okay. So Tori's telling the rest of her story, but we tore the house down because it was more work and more money to rebuild, or to renovate what we had than it would be to just tear down and rebuild from scratch. I did the math; it didn't make sense. Um, 'Cause it would be at least as much money to do a half-ass job and more money to do a proper job, keeping the home as is than it was to just knock it down. Because knocking it down was like really, a very small portion of the budget. Um, and so much like it was so much easier to do the work, even though they had to chip out rock and stuff to give us a basement. But we have a full size basement, and the home we have is still like with market prices and stuff. We're not upside down on it by any means, and the mortgage is a lot, and it takes everything we can to pay it. But having a home for our children to grow up in that's solid and not falling apart and not having mold growing because floods keep happening and stuff is really important to us. So we bit the bullet on it. And the massive fire. Okay, so Tori's story that was shoddily done on Bar Rescue, and I can tell you a little bit about why that might be. I've seen that show a couple of times, but shut down forever to be back to spec and restored it to how it should have been done when it was on the show. So I'm gonna say this. Um, so my wife is calling, so um, I'm gonna end the show in 2 seconds. I'm just gonna say, because I'm gonna call her back in just a second. Because I'm gonna end the show and say thank you everybody for showing up. I really appreciate it. Um, what I'm gonna say is that when people do things for TV, it's almost never done right because they never have the time. They always build in this ridiculous time frame, and they're trying to meet budgets and stuff that doesn't make sense. Unless she's telling a story about added a garage and rebuilt the barn, have built sheds for. Oh yeah, handy in-laws are awesome, and yes, thank you, PC. So thank you everyone for coming. This has been 3 hours. That's way too long to stream for. Um, I want to say I love all of you. Thank you for coming. Thanks for being awesome people. Thanks for hanging out with me. And I'm glad to be back doing a show and talking to people and having the great support. And I'll see you all around. Bye bye, everybody.